Hey everybody, GameHounds episode 575. We are live and in our pre-show right now. Sorry we're a little bit late. Nick had to restart his computer after having adorable cat moment. How are
and
you
now
doing?
You never see it. You go the whole episode. No cats. We were going to start with cats, and now, fuck them.
Yeah, fuck cats. If you were watching last week, or I should say, if you were looking to watch last week on YouTube and you couldn't find our show, I don't know what happened, why YouTube didn't upload the show. I think it had to do with the fact that I hit the wrong button at the end of the show last week. And so we didn't we didn't hit the final end broadcast button like we normally do. It was kind of a back and forth thing. Anyway, it was weird. And I think that prevented it from uploading onto YouTube. So if you want to see last week's show, go to Twitch. We are on Twitch as The GameHounds. The show showed up on Twitch. It just didn't show up on YouTube for some strange reason. So how are you guys doing? Andrew, how are you? I didn't see you last week.
I'm doing better. So I do have kind of a story that made Friday suck. So on Thursday at 11 o'clock, because I have to get up for work at 5:10 in the morning, and as I was about to go to bed, it was 11 o'clock. I'm going to go take a quick shower, go to bed. I step into my bathroom and I slip.
Oh.
And that's because there's an inch of water in my bathroom.
That's even worse.
Yes. So my toilet had flooded. I wasn't paying attention. It had clogged a little, and it had been just constantly running. And the reason it did this, apparently, was because my apartment complex turned off the main water line. When they turned it back on, calcium deposits that had built up, shot through the system all throughout the apartment and got into the pump and the plunger for the toilet. And I had noticed that it started clogging. So, I had to deal with that at 11 o'clock at night. I called my work, and they're like, no, you have to come in. So I only ended up having 2 hours of sleep that night. But thankfully, my boss was like, yeah, we'll bring somebody in for you, and you can go home. And I went home, and I just passed out at 10 o'clock. But that's the excitement for my week.
So Nick and I this is our last show before holiday for Christmas. So Nick and I are doing the eggnog, and yes, it does have booze in it. I have broken my own rule, the not to drink on a podcast.
Really? Okay, I was about to say
after episode 3, I think it was episode 3 or so, as alcohol and estrogen, that was a bad show. Bad show. Got very drunk on that one. That's
just all about
years ago.
Moderation. You know.
I mean, you've done pretty well from 3 to 575.
Yeah,
good job.
It's time for another disaster.
Right, and I now have my Christmas. Well, it's actually my husband's Christmas sweater, but I got my Christmas sweater on.
Oh, should I go put on my ugly Christmas sweater?
It's not. I mean, it's not really ugly, but
yeah.
You see what it is?
Yeah, it's Guardians.
It's a Guardians Christmas sweater.
It's a Space Force Christmas sweater.
It's Space Force. Yeah,
anyway,
go put on your Christmas sweater. We got time for the show. All right, we got people already in the chat room. We got AC Wraith in the chat room. There's still a hole in my first floor ceiling from when my second floor toilet flooded the house. We had towels and blankets everywhere trying to soak it up because we couldn't get the house water to shut off. Ugh.
Thankfully, I was able to clear the clog easy enough after that. So the water stopped, of course, and I have an emergency maintenance for my apartment, and they brought in a shop vac after I'd taken every available piece of cloth that I could find and threw it on the floor, and then I spent the rest of the night doing laundry.
Yeah. Let's see. I got stranded yesterday. Both of my cars' batteries died simultaneously because we have a car and then we have a pickup truck in the back, and Kevin took the car to go supermarket shopping. So he went out to go supermarket shopping. And I get a call in the middle of my daily podcast that I do for the neighborhood. Soon as I went live there, he calls me and goes, I've been stranded. The battery's dead. So it's like, all right, well, I'll get the truck and come out. I'll stop the show. cut it early and come out to get you. Go out to the truck and the truck battery is dead. So I get a neighbor to take me out there to jump him, and then the car dies again. So it's more profound than just not having a charge. Either it's the alternator or the battery itself. We're not quite sure. So then we have to have the car towed. So now I'm stranded with Kevin getting the car towed. That's what we did. Oh, and fun fact, now if you get stranded and you need to tow because of COVID, you have to get an Uber back home or a Lyft back home. They won't let you actually ride in the cab with the driver anymore.
Okay, so this is mine.
Why is your audio weird?
Oh, because I didn't have the thing down.
Okay.
He's silent.
Nice.
Nice. I don't have an ugly sweater.
Oh,
We'll have to fix that
lame.
next year. Now I know what I'm getting you for Christmas. All right. So shall we start the regular show?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Starting the regular show.
And these podcasters are big fat potty mouths. If you're younger than 18 or are easily offended, please stop this podcast now. Oh, and your mom says to take out the trash and do your homework.
All right. Mics are hot. Hello and welcome to GameHounds. GameHounds episode 575. We are recording this live right now on December 20th, 2020. It is 5 days before Christmas and we are your Christmas elves. I'm Edie Sellers. With me is Andrew Smith and Nick DiNicola. Oh, I changed your name tag on the live video stream because we had the cat on earlier. So yeah, if you want to join us live and actually see us, I mean, you're joining us live now if you're listening to us, but if you want to join us with audio, with video to go along with that audio, we are live right now on Twitch, Twitch, YouTube, and iHeart. Oh, God dang it. Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. On Twitch and Facebook, we're the GameHounds. On YouTube, we are GameHounds Vids. Check us out there. How are you? How is everybody? How's things? Are you feeling very Christmassy?
Well, this may be the episode before Christmas, but it sounds like more of a horror episode because Andrew was talking about his toilet getting clogged in the chat. AC Wraith has a story about how there's a hole in his second floor from when his toilet clogged, and also talk about ghost draining batteries.
Yes.
What the fuck did I miss in like the 60 seconds that I was gone?
I don't know. It was just
So much.
a bad day all the way around.
I wonder if the ghost also plugged the toilet. If his house is just haunted by battery draining, toilet clogging ghosts.
There's your next ghost story, Nick. There's your next ghost story to submit to one of these short story anthologies that appear on Amazon.
You're going to need to write a whole backstory. It doesn't have to make it into the short story, but explain why the ghost has a vendetta against toilets and car batteries. Just those. I need to know.
He's just an asshole. That's all.
Right. Just an a-hole ghost.
Yeah.
It needs to be there's not enough comedy in horror.
Yeah. Like every now and then there's a good comedy horror movie or show, but they're relatively few and far between.
We got Rhythm Battix in the chat room. Hi.
It's Rhythm Bats. But
Is it Rhythm Bat? Okay.
Yeah.
So here's a little something that happened to me shortly right before the show. That delights me to no end. So where I live in Point Richmond is known as the parish because not right now, but at one point there were 4 churches within a block of each other. I am dead center in the middle of that neighborhood. There was the Methodist church. There is the Methodist church still going, the Catholic church. There's a church across the street and there's a church across the other street. So
before you go on, as soon as you said that, I just imagined the end of Gangs of New York.
A bit. Yes, exactly.
All I thought was Edie's house is like on a hellmouth, and like when the gates of hell open, Edie's house is gone.
That's right. That's absolutely right. You know, it is kind of a good location for something horrible and demonic to happen because it's literally between four churches. You couldn't get any more consecrated ground than this house. So,
They've surrounded it.
but the Methodist Church, which is right down the street, it's just the most. It's always been an awesome church. I am not a church person at all. But if I was ever going to be a church person, the Methodist Church is they're just kind of badasses. They have a Thanksgiving and have had it for years where they just throw Thanksgiving dinner for the neighborhood for free. You walk in and all the neighbors go. It's a really, really good church. They have jazz concerts there on Saturday nights. Why not?
Yeah.
So they had a bake sale because of course they've been shut down since the coronavirus. So they had a bake sale that was just for the neighbors saying, hey, we're having the church ladies bake up some baked goods. If you want to buy some baked goods, fairly inexpensive. I bought way too much. I bought pies and cakes and cookies and the whole 9 yards because I want to support them. And the pickup day was yesterday, but we had all of our car issues. So of course I had to contact the pastor and say, hey, I know that the church ladies baked all this stuff for me. I need to buy it from you. And I get a call back from the new pastor. This is a brand new pastor this year after our old pastor Dan retired after a bajillion years at the place. So this fairly young sounding woman says, hi, I'm JC. I've got the stuff for you. And I'm like, are you the pastor? And it's like, yeah, my wife and I are. I'm like, okay, good. Well, I have to do a podcast. I'll be over after the podcast. And she's like, oh, what kind of podcast? I'm like, oh, I've got a gaming podcast. You wouldn't be interested in it. I've been doing it for years. And she's like, actually, we're gamers. I'm like, really? I'm like, okay,
Cool.
What you playing these days? And she's like, well, I'm playing Red Dead Redemption right now, playing through it. And I just finished up Last of Us. Oh my God, what an amazing show. And my wife and I are like challenging ourselves to lose weight because we put on so much weight for COVID. So we have Ghost of Tsushima and Assassin's Creed Valhalla sitting there waiting, and we promised ourselves we won't play it until we lose the weight that we have, the goal. I think she said like 20 pounds or something like that. And it was like, oh, my people. And she's like, maybe I'll check it out. I'm like, oh, do you really want you? Okay. It's really inappropriate. She's like, it's fine. We love inappropriate. I'm like, okay, because we're going to talk about Cyberpunk 2077, and there's going to be a lot of discussions of dangling penises and breasts bursting out of shirts. It's like, what are you gonna do? So yeah. Hi, pastors.
Cool.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize in advance for everything that you hear from her. No, no.
She doesn't. She doesn't.
I don't. I really don't. So, religious gang wars. Yeah, the Catholics versus the Methodists. I would love to see that. I really would. Just a little cage match. Just a little tiny cage match. By the way, we mentioned Nick's stories. Nick's stories are available on Amazon. Nick is a published author.
Yes. It's I should be drinking whiskey out of it, like a true author.
Can we just give
I'm pinky out.
Can we just give AC Wraith another shout out for being awesome? Like, we just mentioned his stories in a joke, and he has links just ready.
Yeah, I know.
He is El Machino. The man knows how to do a link. So yeah, this is a list of Nick's stories. He does horror stories in anthology stories.
Like that's got all the big ones. There's a couple other ones, but like they're not on Amazon anyway, so it doesn't matter.
And thank you for reminding me. This video cast is Patreon sponsored. Yes, all we ask is $1 a month. And if you can do that, great. If you can't, that's cool. Just whatever, anything that you could help to keep us going with this video, because of course this actually does cost us money to make. And money's tight. Corey Wall.
No, not milk. Spiked eggnog.
Eggnog. Oh yeah, and very spiked.
Mr. Pip.
Oh, Mr. Pibb. Do you drink
Mr.
it?
Pibb, you're
you
not
drink it
even
warm or
drinking
cold?
the doctor. You're going for the Mr.
Okay,
Jeez.
I ordered a couple 20 ounces from.
Low class soda drinking motherfucker.
I
Mr. Pibb,
ordered.
Mr. Pibb is better than Dr. Pepper.
You
I
too.
ordered-
Get out of here. Get out of here.
I
Change
prefer
my
Dr.
mind.
I only drink educated sodas.
I actually prefer Dr. Pepper.
My sodas have to have a master's or more.
Exactly.
Anything less than a master's, screw them.
Hmm. I'm not drinking no bachelor's degree Pepsi. Coke didn't even graduate high school.
Mr. Pibb. All right. So you were saying, Andrew, before we were so rudely interrupted by a couple of semi-drunk people high on eggnog.
Like,
I prefer Dr. Pepper. Like I usually do. But I had ordered like a couple 20 ounces from this pizza place, and they brought 2 liters. so now I have just
Okay,
2 liters of Dr. Pibb.
Mr. Pibb is like the more pizza place type of soda, right? You go to a pizza place, they're not going to have the educated Dr. Pepper. They're going to have Mr. Pibb.
Yes.
I prefer Mr. Pibb, and my favorite cola is RC Cola.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why are you so wrong?
I'm a weirdo. I really am. All right. So Rhythm Bat says, okay, but what about cheer wine? I will drink cheer wine all day. I love that stuff.
I don't even know what cheer wine is.
It is a European thing, usually Scandinavian. Actually, I'm thinking about making some Christmas mead. I mean, it'll take me a month, so it won't be Christmas by the time it's done. But I was thinking honey mead. Honey mead is easy. All it is honey and water, and you just let it rot.
I've got some like old cider that my brother's girlfriend's dad made for like bunch of family members, and she gave some to me. I've got to I should break that open. I remember I was originally it's like a apple cider and then a cherry cider.
Ooh, that sounds
but like
good.
It's home brewed by him.
You should absolutely crack that crap
I was
open.
originally saving it for like the end of Game of Thrones, and then that came about, and it was kind of like, we don't need to celebrate.
I can't really celebrate.
Yeah, this isn't something we want to celebrate. So yeah, maybe we'll break it open for.
And then you were going to break it open for the release of Cyberpunk 2077, and it's like, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah. No. What I'll do is I'll bring it with me when we go and see Monster Hunter at the drive-in.
That sounds like a plan. Yeah, we're gonna go to the drive-in theater in Concord, which is like 30 miles that way, and go see Monster Hunter probably next weekend, probably the weekend after Thanksgiving. I mean, Christmas.
At least you know what you're getting into with that one, Nick. You don't expect it to be a masterpiece.
Oh,
Look,
no.
I have seen every Resident Evil movie, which is from the same actress and same director as Monster Hunter. I know exactly what I'm getting into.
Mila will never be able to live down Multipass.
No, should she? That's like her best movie.
It is her best movie.
Yeah.
All right. So, shall we get into the actual show? Oh my gosh. Wow. This brandy is really starting to kick in.
Do you really want to talk about games? What have you been watching? Have you seen anything good, Andrew?
No. I want to talk about games because Assassin's Creed started yesterday, the Yule Festival.
Oh.
The Yule Festival is active and going in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It is, from what I can tell, 5 different like small missions. They're a combination of missions and mini games. Not easy. Now, I will fully admit that I am terrible at the drinking game. I cannot win the drinking game. I just can't. I fail miserably. And one of the games that you play is a drinking game. But here's an interesting thing, and I got to give them credit. They're awesome. So the big game is a fist fighting game where you have to fist fight and then you drink. And then you have another fight and then you drink. And you do that for 10 rounds. And every time you drink, you gain a little health. But you also get a little drunker as you're going through these fights. And of course, the more fights you do, the farther along you get, the harder the enemies become. And as you're getting drunker, you start losing abilities. Like there's this thing where you can actually focus on an enemy that makes it very much easier to have a fist fight, because like you never take your eyes off of them. And then at about, fight 5 out of, I think it's 10, because I haven't gotten to the end of it. 5, you lose your ability to focus. But even making it cooler.
Does the screen get all wobbly like other games do with?
You don't really get wobbly. You just start losing abilities to do stuff. It doesn't, at the end of it, you were definitely so drunk you can't stand. Like I've gotten up to round 7 of 10. I think it's 10, but I've gotten up to round 7 and I'm so drunk I can't actually move. Like you hit forward and your body just kind of and you have to wait there maybe, a couple of minutes before you sober up enough to actually move your feet. But the other cool thing is that there's a couple of other missions and a couple of other mini games. And if you complete those missions and mini games, then the people that you complete them for actually become the people you fight in this fighting mini game.
Huh.
Nice.
Like, for example, there is one where the cattle that were going to be slaughtered for the feast have gotten away from them. The mother is and the son are the people that run the cattle farm, and the son, who is a teenager, lets the cattle get away from him. So you have to go slaughter find the cattle and slaughter them, and you go kind of running over hill and dale looking for these cattle and then shooting them and then collecting the meat. And you find out the kid's a kind of a little bit of a wimpy kid, but he's young. He's young and kind of dorky, and he really wants to impress a girl. And so yeah, it's he's just a kind of a wimpy kid. So when you finish, he becomes a fighter in the fighting ring, and he comes in around fight 5. And so it's like, fight 1, 2, 3, you're actually fighting. You're fighting real guys. And it's, and then fight 5, he comes in and he's just standing there. I'm like, all right, so what are you going to do? So I just stood there and he never threw a punch. So I walked up and I threw a punch at him and flattened him in one punch. So it's kind of nice because it draws in all of these 5 different missions into each other, so you feel very much like you are part of a community, a village holding a Yule festival, because these
really
characters
cool.
perpetuate throughout the Yule festival. It's really cool. It's really neat.
I wonder if they'll keep some of that in afterwards.
I think that they're probably going to be smart and they're going to hold off and do something similar in other festivals.
True.
For the sometime in the future.
Someone like someone that gets the game after Christmas.
Right, exactly.
That sounds like a really cool holiday event though.
Yeah. And I should have probably brought up the video of it, but oh well. So yeah, it's let me see if I can get to the fighting. Is it going to show me the fighting festival? No.
So do the people, if you get the people from the other side quests into the ring, are they usually easier than the people that would be there by default?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so it's really on you. You're encouraged to like go do this other stuff and then come back to the fight so you can,
right.
you can beat up the people that you helped.
Right. You can come back to the fight at any time and just say, hey, I want to play, I want to fight. And it's like, yep, let me do it. And yeah, and then you can just, and it's, you do a round and then you drink. So yeah, you go through, or even when you start, and if you haven't done any of the other stuff, it's just basic fighters. And then you just kick their asses, and then you go drink around, and then you come back for the next round and drink some more and fight some more and drink some more. And then, the kid and other people will show up in the match, to fight. And yeah, they are definitely Well, I've only got 2 of them in my rotation right now. One is the kid. The kid's easy. He's a, you just hit him once and he just goes down. The other one is the brewer assistant that you help him recover some the bandits have stolen brew. And when you fight him, he's not entirely easy, but he's not horrible. So yeah, you get done, then you go over and you drink a little, and then you recover some health, and then you go into the next round.
Just sitting there. Yep. This is how I heal. Better than a bandit.
Yep. So you just do that. I have yet to get it. And then you get Yule tokens at the end of this. And I have yet to figure out what to do with the Yule tokens, but I'm assuming you're going to be able to use them to buy cosmetics, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
AC, in the chat, AC Ray says he's been playing Yakuza Kiwami 2. And the closest he has to a Yule festival was taking pictures of a pretty lady model in Santa fetish cosplay.
Nice.
That's
that sounds like Yakuza. That's
the Christmas spirit. Oh, there we go. Oh, hold on a second. I'm gonna bring it in. All right. Here is the kid.
Oh, he's an actual little kid. Like he's way shorter than you.
He's just a teenager. So you just sit there and he doesn't come up to you and you just hit him and bam, he's down.
It's one punch.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. So yeah, that's the Yule Festival. So far, I am a fan. Can't complain.
Cool.
So what you guys playing?
You want to go first, Nick?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can go.
So I've been knee deep in 7 Days to Die. Don't know if you've heard of it.
I've heard of it. Was it like a Telltale published game? I feel like I saw it mentioned in a lot of their shenanigans going on.
Right. So it has been in alpha early access for about 7 years now on PC. It's been out for a while. So there was an old joke that like Ark was the game that was never going to get out of beta, but at least it started in beta. And this is going to be the game that never leaves alpha.
Wait, is this 7 Days to Die that we're looking at right now?
Yes.
Oh, it's one of those. It's an Ark Rust game.
It is. Yes.
Oh, I thought it was something different for some reason.
Ark Rust.
I guess I thought it took place in a forest, like the game called The Forest.
Oh no, that is.
Oh no, The Forest is a different game.
Yeah, but I thought 7 Days that took place in a forest for some reason, and this is
you
totally
can't.
a desert.
There's multiple biomes. There's wastelands, forests, like deserts. The map's huge, and you can make it larger.
It's just punching bushes.
Yes, it gives you fiber. It's classic survival game mechanics. So I've played a few of these. I've played The Forest. I've played Ark. So far, this has been my favorite.
Really?
Yes, and one of the reasons is with Ark, there's a big focus on like taming, is getting those dinosaurs. You can breed them, and then there's a large PvP element to that. That if you don't play with multiple people or in a big server, that is just completely useless to you. Like the whole point of building up a fortress, other than looks, is so that if people try to raid you, you can fight back and they can't just like break in. That's the same thing with Rust. So I've never played that PvP aspect of it because you have to go join a dedicated server and then join a clan. You have to play with people. It's a whole thing. But if you don't have that, what you're left is kind of building up a base, like the basic necessities for farming and stuff like that, and dinosaur taming. And then it's mostly cosmetic once you get all your basics met and like you're self-sufficient. And then it's, collecting those dinosaurs to breed if you want to breed or doing whatever. But if you don't do that PvP, I always got a little bored because I wasn't interested in making a big castle and not super into taming. But just like with Minecraft, I'm super into collecting resources. There's something just cathartic about exploring and picking stuff up.
I will say there is something weirdly hypnotic about watching this guy just hit bushes with a hatchet.
You can literally do that for hours and have all the fun in the world. It is great. So I picked this up on kind of a whim. It was on sale like $25 for, which is how much it normally is, but for 2 copies of it. So I bought it for me and a friend.
$25. Wow. For something in alpha?
It's
huge.
huge.
It's not an alpha.
No, mostly it's alpha because they've changed large sections of mechanics to the game. Like every year they come out with a big update that overhauls the game. So they're in alpha. To go back, this is also on Corey Wallace. I do believe we started the show, right, Edie?
Yeah, we started.
Yeah, we started the show.
Okay. Telltale published it for the console version in 2016. And then they went under in 2018, 17.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, they no longer updated the console version. So if you buy this for the Xbox or PS4, you can still buy it, but you get like the 2018 version. Whereas I forget what alpha number that is. I think it's like 16, whereas this is version 19 that's currently on the PC, which has wide changes. So the basic survival mechanics are almost identical. You grab stuff with your fist first, you make a hatchet and a bed, and you start collecting resources. But instead of taming monsters or fighting other people, which you can fight other people, but the servers are supposed to cap out at 8 people, but you can put more in, it just gets unstable. You are doing zombie things, essentially. You're going to buildings that are generated. They're called point of interest, and they're all over the map. And you go in there and you loot all of the cupboards. You can break down pretty much anything in that. Like, you could strip a house all the way from the foundation up and take all of the resources. Because each house is made up of individual blocks. And you can strip, like, you have a sink, well, that has a pipe. So you can break that down if you have the right tool, stuff like that. And so for me, it's that resource collecting that's addictive. So that helps. Like, you can go and loot. There's always that chance, oh, I'm going to find something really cool. And then there's the fact that there's zombies. In Ark, you have dinosaurs, but they're not really the same thing. You kind of avoid really dangerous predators. And then you have, like, herbivores that you just don't fight. Whereas zombies are this ever-present threat that you can fight. Once you get guns, it gets easier, obviously. But it's this nice, like, PvE mechanic that I feel that if you're not doing the PvP stuff on Ark or Rust, that you would be missing. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So would you say this has more in common with something like State of Decay?
Possibly, but there is no NPCs outside of, like, traders.
Okay. I'm just thinking that's
yes,
the only other zombie-esque resource collecting game I can think of.
Actually, that is pretty damn accurate. It takes the building crafting of something like Ark or Rust and combines it with the resource gathering of State of Decay. The only thing that's really missing is the NPCs, because that's the whole thing about State of Decay is getting your own people and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. And where it gets its namesake is every 7 days, if you don't mess with the settings, you fight on nighttime. You fight a horde. Like, they come out of nowhere. They're coming to attack you. You know it's going to happen every 7th day at midnight, or not midnight, but 10 o'clock when nighttime strikes. And you have to be prepared. You have to be ready. You have to build up your defenses, or you go hide in a building. Like, I was playing with friends, and we went up and held into a prison. Right, like we just got in there, we blocked off a few of the entrances, and then we held out in a prison because they have strong walls. And that pushes you forward. That gives you an objective every week that you're planning for. Whereas with Ark, if you get tired of taming dinosaurs or you build that nice house, you're done.
Yeah, that's one thing I've always found kind of weird about these games is that there's kind of this whole expansive system to them, but it's all like, yeah, make your own fun. And as someone who would rather have an objective, I've always found it difficult to get into those games because of that. Like, give me something to work for rather than make my own fun. But that's cool. This one does exactly that.
Yeah, and I think it pushes the game along quite nicely. So I initially played it with one friend. We ended up liking it, and I had a group of other people that were enjoying it. So I went on my way and I bought a dedicated server on nitrado.com or .net. I forget exactly which one. It's probably important to get that right. But they let you buy server space essentially for you can customize the price. If you have less people for the server, it can cost less for you.
Mhm.
So I bought an 8-person
Nice.
server for $13 a month, essentially. Which, I mean, for the cost of a Netflix subscription, I can play with. I've got 4 friends together, 5, but one doesn't really play that often, and they can hop in whenever they want.
That's
Typically,
cool.
they wait till there's at least 2 people because of the ever-present timer, but the timer stops when everyone's off.
Okay, I was
So-
just gonna ask that. Like, does the timer keep going if no one's there? So can I hop on and then realize, oh shit, I've got 8 hours until the zombies come. I need to find something to do.
No, thankfully, if no one's on, the timer stops.
Okay.
So we try to make sure there's at least 2 people on doing stuff when we play. But, it's still good that you don't have one person who has the world. And if they're at work all day, you have 4 people who can play, that they're stuck waiting for that 5th person.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was necessary for me. Like, I really wanted to get a server, but I made sure to have extra people to play. And I have just sunk 65 hours into it in the last week. And that's with a working week. Most of my free time has been playing this game, and I'm still loving it. We made it to day 50. Each day is an hour, so me and the server group got up to day 50 before we canceled our first world because they have a pre-generated world which has a lot of love and there's a lot of stuff that you can do there, but you can also load a pre-gen world or a random generated world like Minecraft. And the custom world that they have for you is nice, but it's kind of limiting. It only has certain things. They always spawn that exact way.
It's
So
like
we went
it's
out of
the beginner world.
Yeah, and so we went out of our way to start an RNG world that we're going to stick to. Because obviously you don't want to be deleting your world every, 2 weeks. Because that would suck.
Rhythm Bad says when Andrew plays, he looks like a zombie.
Yes.
He says he accidentally shot you in the dome.
So on week 4, I'm going to give some anecdotes to our last game. On week 3, we were holding out in this building. We held out in it every night, and we built some defenses. We kind of got how the zombies were coming, but we were kind of panicking because we had 6 to 2 hours, 2 to 6 hours left of the night before we were about to fight zombies. So we were struggling to craft ammo last minute, and we got a decent amount. But at the end of night 3, we had ran out of ammo, and they were still coming. And they were destroying the defenses we had set up. We were struggling, and somebody had dynamite. So I ended up throwing dynamite in 2 different places, and then we were struggling. We were running around with our heads cut off. We ended up surviving mostly. But that building was wrecked, because dynamite does a lot of environmental damage.
I bet.
So Rhythm Bat, who's in chat, went out of his way to kind of build up this bridge and this fort. And it was the first time we'd actually built up defenses to fight zombies ourselves. Well, that night, they added an exploder zombie that we didn't know was going to come. And it got into our main area, and it detonated and blew up, and I ended up dying. That little fort that we had made was gone. And that now I'm struggling running around because it had this bridge that was connected in the air to this big central area. And I'm running around on the ground while the zombies are attacking the pillars because I have friends still up there. And the whole thing crashes.
Oh, so it was elevated.
Yes, because that was the idea. But they attacked the pillars below
Oh.
to try to bring the whole thing down because there's physics. And when they destroy support blocks, the whole thing crashed. at some point in the night, I may be getting these ones mixed up, but I ended up breaking my leg. I fell from a height, I broke my leg, and there was an hour left of the night. So I had one friend like, I'm going to cover you, and went to this hole that he had dug. We held out the last hour. As I'm coming back out, all of my friends are cleaning up the remaining zombies. I'm limping towards them. There's a couple zombies on my left and right, but they're running towards my teammates. I'm not worried. And Where the Bat sights me down and puts one in my head. Just immediately, I'm dead. And it thought I was a zombie because I was limping because I had a broken leg. And I had survived the entire... Okay, so yeah, this was week 3, but I had survived the entire night for the first time. I was happy, and he put a round in my head.
This is literally Night of the Living Dead. It's great.
I made it. Oh, I didn't make it.
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Those are the kind of anecdotes that I love to hear about, because like, this isn't the type of game I would play, but I love hearing those type of emergent stories from it because they're so much fun.
Yep. All right. So next game to talk about.
Oh, have you been playing anything else, Andrew? Oh, it's mine. Okay,
Go for it.
I have entered phase 2 of my broken next gen saga, and I can officially say the PlayStation Woes are no more. I sent the PlayStation back on Friday, and like they got it Monday or something. They got it Monday at 10 a.m. I got an email that said, "Hey, we've received your console." By like 3 p.m., I got an email saying, "We're sending the console back." So, because when I got it back, it was completely new, I assume, and like my friend assumed, they didn't really fix it. They just got it and were like, "Fuck it, just send them another one." So they've got some emergency.
It's smarter to
staff
do because
somewhere.
you know that they're fixing your original one right now if it's not already fixed, and they can sell that.
Yeah, they can just take
refurbished, I
that.
guess.
They can just take that, put it in another box, and ship it off to like Best Buy or Walmart.
Mhm.
So yeah, I've got the PlayStation back. So far, it's working pretty good, and thankfully, with the last PlayStation, I noticed that when I plugged it into the HDMI originally, I did get a bit of screen flickering whenever I would change inputs. And at first, I thought, "Oh, this is kind of worrisome," but then the console started working, and I just didn't think anything of it. And then later on, those inputs are the things that failed. This one has not had any sort of flickering from the beginning. So I assume that this one is probably A-okay. And I'm happy to say that even though I know that the Xbox is constantly backing up your saves to the cloud, I didn't know what the PlayStation was doing, like if it was doing that constantly. But I'm happy to say I think it is, because when I loaded up Demon Souls, it automatically downloaded the save from the cloud, and when I loaded in, I was 10 feet from where I was when I turned off the console. So it loaded me
Nice.
exactly back into where I was. So I think PlayStation is pretty good about automatically backing up any of your saves to the cloud. At least if you have PS Plus, you do that. I don't think they do that if you just do normally. But so yeah, so far PlayStation working great. The Xbox, on the other hand, my Xbox woes have continued. So with that, what I noticed is it would randomly shut down.
Relief package just got passed. Yes. Sorry, just got the notification.
How much was the stimulus? Is it $10?
Top congressional leaders announce agreement on the COVID-19 relief package funding bill. It has been agreed upon, and last time I heard it was $600. So it's
It's
not going to keep you alive, but at least it's something. Anyway, breaking news.
With the Xbox, it was an issue with the power supply, where it seemed like the console was shutting down at times, and because it was so hot. At least that's what the troubleshooting said. So I did all the things. I put it out into an open area, gave it room, and none of that worked. And I will say, going through the experiences of PlayStation Help and Xbox Help back to back, PlayStation is so much better. So much better.
Really?
Because what they do is you go to their online troubleshooting and you're like, this is the issue I have. And it says, try this. Did it work? No. Okay, here's another thing to try. Did it work? No. Here's another thing to try. Did it work? No. Okay, call us with a number. So I called that number, talked to the lady. She opened like a fix-it ticket. They sent me literally everything I needed. They sent me a box. They sent me packing supplies. They sent me a shipping label. They sent me tape to use to close the box. Like literally everything I needed to send the console back, they provided. So with Microsoft, I go to their troubleshooting website and it's like, this is my problem. Okay, have you tried this? No. Does this help? No. Does this help? No. Okay, was this article helpful? It's like, well, no, it wasn't helpful. You didn't help me. So I click no, and it's like, oh, thank you for the feedback. Well, what the fuck do I do now? And so I ended up going through like multiple Microsoft focused websites, looking and going to the support sections for them. One of the areas had a support section with a lot of drop-down menus where you say, like, this is the device that I'm looking help for. This is the issue. You know, drop-down menu, drop-down menu, drop-down menu, select it all, click next. Oh, I'm sorry, there's no customer help number associated with that issue. Like, okay, so no customer help with power supplies. And I was like, well, other, sorry, no customer help number. Other, sorry, no customer help number. I'm like, motherfuckers. And ultimately, I never did find a customer help number. Microsoft's philosophy of like help includes no people. Like you are not going to talk to anyone. Eventually what I found out, having to Google, how do you send an Xbox in for repair? They sent me to, if you go to like xbox.com and you sign in, if you go to support, don't go to troubleshooting. Go immediately to like repair warranty. And from there, you can basically order a repair as if you were buying something from the Microsoft Store. If your device is associated with the Microsoft account, which if you have logged into it at all, it's associated with your account. You just say, this is the device I want to repair. You order a repair and you click buy. And it's weird because the purchase screen even includes like a little checkbox of, yes, I would like to sign up for a mailing list for your other products. And I'm like, no, you're gonna fucking broke on me. I don't want to know about your other products that will break on me. Uncheck. And so I bought this repair request, and they sent me an email that's just, hey, here's a shipping label. It has a PDF. I'm like, well, okay, it's 2020 and I'm a goddamn millennial. I don't have a printer at home. So I had to go to like a FedEx thing, print out.
Oh, what a pain.
And thankfully, because it's the Christmas season and I've been ordering lots of stuff from Amazon, I have boxes and packing material stacked in my living room saved up because they certainly didn't provide jack shit. They're just like, get a box, get some bubble wrap, and then send it back. And I'm like, well, fuck, I don't have any of that. Well, thankfully, I have that. I don't normally have any of that. But thankfully, I did. And so I was able to pack it up. But then, before I could pack it up, Gears 5 released some DLC. And I wanted to play that with a friend that I played through all of Gears 5 with. And as we were playing all through it, I encountered no issues. Like it never shut down. And I started to suspect that maybe it was this third-party battery charger that I had for charging the batteries that will go into the console. That maybe the battery charger was sucking too much power, and that was somehow confusing the system and causing it to shut down from like a, improper power balance or something like that. And so I'll talk about the Gears DLC shortly because it's pretty good. But last night I was like, okay, I'm putting it back in its little cubby hole where it was before. I've unplugged the battery charger, and I'm gonna play Avengers. And I played through a bunch of Avengers, and then at some point it shut down on me. And so that was actually really, really heartening because I realized, okay, good, it's not anything with the setup, it's something with the console. And so earlier today, actually, as I say this, I shipped it off via UPS to get repaired. So we'll see how fast they get around to it, because Sony got it back. Between me shipping it and then getting it back was like 5 days, weekends included. So I'm curious to see how long Microsoft takes. But so far, like, just their general help philosophy of not providing a number with the troubleshooting, not providing any guidance to what you should do after the troubleshooting fails, seems like a real dick move. And I'm just kind of frustrated with their lack of like supplying literally anything except for, a shipping label has a PDF. It just seems like a hands-off approach that's designed to be more frustrating than it is helpful. But in the few hours that I had with it working, I played through the Gears 5 DLC, Hive Busters, which is a really, really cool short bit of Gears of War. What's really neat about this is it's kind of Gears 5 presented this new multiplayer mode called Escape, in which you play has some characters who like set off this gas bomb in the center of this alien hive, and you have to then escape that hive. And so you're running through this kind of labyrinth-like level with this gas constantly behind you and enemies in front of you. So it's this really neat, frantic multiplayer mode where you're trying to escape as fast as possible while killing everything in front of you and things like that. This DLC is kind of like a story-based background to that mode. This is, it's all about the characters and how they develop that gas that is used in that mode. And it's a really cool piece of DLC because visually it's just so unlike anything else you see in Gears. So much of Gears is defined by bombed out locales, by ruined locales, by something that's destroyed. And this all takes place in this tropical Hawaiian-like thick jungle. And even one of the creatures you fight is this awesome bird, worm, bee, octopus hybrid animal that is just one of the weirdest, Lovecraftian, eldritch-like monstrosities I've seen in any game. But it's neat. Like, it's a bird. It has a bird's face, and then it digs under the ground like a worm, and then it bounces up, and so it's flying around like a bee with like these octopus tentacles hanging from its bottom, and you're looking at it like, what the fuck is this thing? I don't know, but let's shoot it. And so it's fairly short. Like, we beat it over the course of 2 nights, but it's a lot of Gears. If you play Gears 5, it's more of that, but it's continuing what feels like the tradition of Gears 5, which is just Gears of War, but done as good as it's ever been. Like, I don't remember much of those first 3 games, but I think Gears 5 is probably the best that franchise has been. And this kind of continues that tradition with really charming, well-written characters with a really interesting location that kind of shows off a new side of this world. These characters all actually have different abilities that kind of interact. Like, one guy can put up a shield, another guy can drop some ammo that refills what you have. The lady has this really powerful melee attack. It kind of adds a twist to the typical Gears of War combat. So, like, all things considered, it's a really impressive piece of DLC. And even more impressive is the fact that if you're part of Game Pass, you get it all for free. So, yeah.
That Game Pass, I'm not gonna lie, that Game Pass is pretty awesome.
It is. I keep the night before I wiped everything from the Xbox to send it back, I even downloaded like a new Game Pass game just in case the Xbox kept working. Because so with Microsoft and Sony, it's the holidays and they both have their typical holiday sales going on. One of the things I've noticed is I go on the PlayStation Store and I look through like some of their indie games, games that are 20, $30. I'm like, oh, that one looks neat. Maybe I'll think about getting that one. Oh, that one looks neat. Maybe I'll get that one. I go to Xbox and I realize, oh shit, these are on Game Pass.
They're all.
I don't
for
have
free.
to buy them. I can just get them on Game Pass. Well, fuck that. I'll just download them.
Yeah.
So it's a really great deal. Like,
I don't think that
genuinely
Game
agree.
Pass has come fully into its blossom, but I have a feeling that may very well be the trump card for the console wars, so to speak.
Yeah, maybe. Like I'm genuinely enjoying it. Like whenever I log on, I will open the Game Pass app and just see like, hey, what's new?
Right.
And yeah, it's actually a lot like Netflix in that way, where when you open Netflix, you kind of go to like, oh, what's been recently added? You kind of browse through that for a bit to see anything I want to add to my list. What is it? So
anything else you want to talk
about? Before I sent the Xbox back, I was also playing a bit of Battlefield 5. And playing it on Xbox, because it's a new console, a lot of my progress is reset because all that progress is saved on the PlayStation. But it's been interesting playing through it because since this is a live service game and they've been adding maps and adding modes to it throughout the time that I've stopped playing, coming back to it now kind of feels like a new Battlefield game. And it's made me really want to go get the disc out of my drawer that's actually right down here and put it back in the PlayStation and download it, just because a lot of the maps I've played have been new. I don't think I've played on any old map that I played when I originally played it for a bunch. A lot of new modes. They have a lot of the same modes, but also like Conquest is split into like strategic conquest and tactical conquest, and I'm not quite sure what the difference is between there, but yeah, they've just added in a whole bunch of new like cosmetics, a whole bunch of new maps, some new modes, and it just actually feels like a new Battlefield game. So I'm actually kind of getting back into it because yeah, this is a new Battlefield game for 2020.
That's something that happened when I went back to Battlefield 4, which was a long time ago. Like I played it when it first came out. It was a terrible, buggy mess, so much that it like did terrible things to DICE. But when you came back like years later, they had fixed everything. There's a ton of new maps. I'm like, this game's awesome, and I ended up playing for like 120 hours just because it was cool. It's fun.
Yeah. I will say one of the neat things about PlayStation, and you might want to do this, Edie, just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
I forget where to go, but like if you go to your profile and go to games, it will show you your playtime for all the games you've played on PlayStation. And it's retroactive. So literally every game you've played from the PlayStation 4 onwards, it has recorded that game time. And
that's a good question of what I've played the most.
Yes, and I think
Battlefield 5 would definitely be up there.
What's interesting is like I saw, Battlefield 5, I put like 130 hours into it. Battlefield 1, I put like 100 hours into it. And Battlefield 4 was like 30. And it's like, okay, I clearly one of these I liked more than the others. But it was interesting going through it and being like, oh shit, I put this much time into Need for Speed? Like, holy shit, I put like
I don't want to see it.
60 hours into Death Stranding or something like that.
That's really why I don't want to see it.
Oh man, I kind of want to see this.
It's a really fun list to go through.
All right.
And that's only on the PS5?
Yes.
Is it available online?
I don't think so.
I'm already signing in, Edie.
Okay. Let me know if you find it, because I'm interested to see.
Yeah, I think it might just be on the PS5. Although I do remember last year, PlayStation did a thing where they like recorded your game time and said, "Hey, here's the top 3 games that you played.
Right.
Here's what you preferred."
And it was embarrassing.
I wonder if they're going to do something like that this year.
Yeah, they probably are. Certainly, because it's available. Is it on there on the website?
I'm Googling to try to find it first, and then I will let you know here in a second.
So it was under my settings, huh?
Yeah, it's look. I'm loving the PlayStation 5 now that I'm playing Demon Souls again. It's really enjoyable, but fuck, that UI is like really confusing at times. So,
Yeah.
I think it's like your profile games play. I don't know. I learned where to go from like a Kotaku article because it's the kind of thing that you never ever would discover on your own.
Edit profile now. Let's see. It just shows me my trophies. That's all it's showing me and my friends. Subscription management, payment management. Huh. All right. Yeah, well, I guess not. So, anything else before we hit the news? Because there is a lot of news out there, my friends.
No.
All right.
All right.
Then let's hit the news. This is the GameHounds news, the news, views, and commentary of the week in gaming with Gamer Edie. Holy Gully. Sorry.
You know, I can only be offended so many times.
I am just a little bit drunk, so you've got to give me some leeway here.
Okay, I'll be right back. I got to refill.
Yeah, I know. I do too. So, or maybe I shouldn't. News, views, and commentary of the week in gaming with Gamer Edie, Nick DiNicola, and Andrew Smith. And our first item is Cyberpunk 2077. God, that shit show just keeps getting shittier. Holy crap. The dumpster fire has turned into a dumpster conflagration. So when we talked last, there was a lot of problems with bugs, as we knew, with the with Cyberpunk 2077, specifically it was all bad. It was nothing was bug free, but it was better on the PC, but it was practically unplayable on the consoles, especially the base consoles of the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, the base, not the pros or anything with extra letters or numbers after it. So normally you would go, yeah, but that's last generation. But those are also the biggest install base for consumers. There are way more PlayStation 4 base models than there are any other kind of PlayStation out there right now. And on top of that, 2 weeks prior to the game coming out, CD Projekt Red says that Cyberpunk 2077 plays quote, surprisingly well. The two words that have come back to haunt CD Projekt Red, surprisingly well on last gen consoles. So let's see.
It's just hilarious. Like, if this is surprisingly well, what were you expecting?
Surprisingly well is all about context, and if like 6 months earlier it didn't play at all, you're like,
oh yeah, it does play surprisingly well.
We expected to set them on fire, and it doesn't.
Wow.
Yeah, awesome.
Well done.
We deserve a raise.
So let's see. Last week when we talked, that was where it stood. It was a shit show. And I had said that there were rumors that Sony was doing some refunds. Well, since then, I guess CD Projekt Red pretty much told its users, especially its consoles users, and particularly the base console last gen users, that if they wanted PlayStation 4 specifically, if you wanted a refund, you need to talk to Sony. Well, Sony doesn't really do refunds. It pretty much as soon as you download a game, unlike Xbox, unlike Steam, and a lot of other places, Sony has the most locked down of the refund policies. And the refund policy is we don't give refunds. The minute you download it, you're done. you don't get a refund. So when CD Projekt Red said, oh, is it unplayable on PlayStation 4? Well, look to Sony for a refund. Sony obviously took umbrage at that.
Well, I feel like they didn't just say go to Sony. Like in their statement, they were like, hey, if you're unsatisfied, ask a refund. Ask for a refund.
Ask for a refund from
and it's
the
like
store.
From wherever you got it from the store, from Sony, from Microsoft. Just ask for a refund with no previous deal in place for a refund. And even though, like with video games, even if you buy it physically, a lot of the policies are if the disc is opened, if the shrink wrap is off the disc, you cannot return it. Like all of these retailers have systems in place that say once you play the game, you can't return it. And then CD Projekt is out there going, just ask them, go bug them.
Right. Well, Sony obviously took huge umbrage at this, and they released their own statement. What night was it? Like 2 or 3 nights ago?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, where they released their own statement saying that, yes, we will be providing discounts to anyone who asks for them, and we are delisting Cyberpunk 2077 from our store. And they did.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, we'll do it. But fuck you, Cyberpunk.
Right. They pretty much, here's what I figure is that they went to CD Projekt Red and they said, okay, assholes, we can do this one of 2 ways right now. We will either not refund and make you look bad because now it's on you that you can get a refund, or we can do the refunds and delist you. And guess which one we're picking? Because one of them makes us look like the shitty guy, and one of them makes your game look like the shitty game. That's what we're doing.
I'm also wondering if Cyberpunk ended up paying some type of amount to PlayStation that they're like, hey, I mean, I don't think we'll ever know if that's the case, to be honest.
We'll never know that. But
I find it funny that the only reason it's delisted is because CD Projekt Red said, go gas for refunds. Like, if they had not said that, I imagine the game would still be up, buggy as all hell, but you could download it. It's only because they kind of pushed people into doing this thing that the PSN doesn't usually let you do. And I assume, a lot of copies were sold for PlayStation because it's just the majority console, right? There's more PlayStations that have been sold than Xbox. There's more PlayStations out there than all PCs. Most copies of this game were probably sold on PlayStation. And there's more PS4s out there than there are PS5s or Pros. So I imagine Sony probably got a huge influx.
I'm sure they got thousands of requests, if not tens of thousands of requests.
For that reason that they were like, motherfucker, we don't want to have to deal with this.
Yep.
Because Microsoft, they put a statement on the store page for Cyberpunk. Like, if you go to download it, there's a pop-up that basically says, hey, this game's a buggy mess and it doesn't actually run really well on this console. Just know that going in. And I've seen people speculate that maybe that's because there was a Cyberpunk-themed Xbox One console.
Right. Well, the relationship between CD Projekt Red and Microsoft is much cozier than CD Projekt Red and Sony.
Yeah,
That's
Microsoft isn't going to just burn that bridge all the way down. They're like, okay, well, we're going to put this warning up. We're going to give refunds, because they've also said, yes, we will give all refunds, which I also find funny because and I said this in a text to you too, like the most Cyberpunk things Cyberpunk has done is expose like the hollowness of all these corporate refund policies that, we could absolutely give you your money back if we wanted to, but we just don't want to.
Oh yeah, blanket no refund policy is much easier to maintain. Like, you either have to do something like Steam did, where it's like, you've played 2 hours, or you've had it for less than 2 weeks. You can refund it, or you just don't.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I get why they don't want to do it, because for you, it's very easy. You ask for a refund, you get your refund, you walk away, your story ends. But for the corporation that has actually made the refund, that's where the story begins. Then it becomes a very long process of, okay, well, where do we get our money back from? We have to contact
Yeah.
the developer. We have to, they don't just hand out money and then it goes away. They actually have to come back and log the stuff, keep track of how much is being refunded and for what games and to what people, so that they can actually send an order back to the developer saying, hey, guess what? You need to refund us back the money that we just gave you for that money.
Yeah. I'm just laughing at the video.
Yeah, no, the video's hilarious.
But yeah, and it's not just dealing with like CD Projekt Red; it's also dealing with the credit card companies, because that's the only way.
Yeah, the credit, right? The credit card, right?
Things on these services.
It is very complicated to do a refund. Oh wow, that was a good one.
That's
That's a really good one.
A tree basically bending over and coming back.
The tree just pixelating and bending over and then flipping back. Oh, anyway, so that happened. So in the wake of all of this, then CD Projekt Red had an emergent. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at these. I have to stop. I have to close my eyes because these bugs are so hilarious and bad. So then CD Projekt Red, the company, had an emergency shareholders meeting to talk about what was going on, because it was bad. And in that meeting, they said that, we probably should have put more energy into making sure that the last console, the current gen console as opposed to the next gen consoles were done. We really did not put enough effort into that, and we should have. We are in a position now where we've lost all of the trust and goodwill of gamers. We need to get that back, and that is our first thing. And they were specifically asked that we did not really look into consoles the way we should have looked into consoles. We were clearly not focused in the right direction and released.
I think that's bullshit. I think that is a cop-out.
I think they knew. Oh, they knew. They knew. Somebody was working on consoles and somebody told them that.
Oh, yeah. They
just chose to ignore it.
Jason Schreier had some insight of Bloomberg. Jason Schreier of Bloomberg had a write-up about that emergency meeting, because it was a meeting between the staff of CD Projekt Red and its higher ups. And in that meeting, according to the article, there was some questions of like, hey, isn't it ironic that we're making a game about, corporate abuse and, we're being forced to crunch 7 days a week? But also one of the things that came out of that, it became clear that the developers always knew that these console versions were bad, but the release date was always set by the board of directors.
Yeah, I do want to point out real quick.
The release date was always set by people who, were outside of the development, who didn't actually understand what that process was going on. And I imagine for the developers, it was a situation of like watching a train barrel towards an obstruction with no way to turn it, with no way to stop it.
Yeah, out of Jason Schreier's article, one employee asked the board why it had said in January that the game was complete and playable when that wasn't true, to which the board answered that it would take responsibility. Another developer asked whether CD Projekt Red's directors felt it was hypocritical to make a game about corporate exploitation while expecting that their employees work overtime. The response was vague and non-committal.
I want to point out that like the complete and playable thing, which they said in September, I believe, at the beginning of their first of 3 delays, is probably the most damning, like not damning thing, but like egregious thing about this whole thing, is that back then, that was, several months ago, it wasn't ready. like how much more was it not ready back then?
Right.
Yeah.
And we're crapping on the console version, but I want to point out that the PC version is not complete either.
Oh no, it's not bug free. It's just less buggy, which is
It seems to be the best
given
version
how
by far.
yeah,
But not,
best. We say best with huge air quotes.
I want to point out that it's not even just about bugs. Like we're used to some bugs that get made into the game and whatnot.
That's half the fun.
But the game isn't objectively complete.
Yeah.
There is AI, like lackluster AI to no AI for your a lot of the civilians in town. Like they basically just do one thing on repeat.
The wanted system apparently is horrifically broken.
Yeah, the game itself, like the crafting system, is exploitable. Like just normally.
Oh, did you hear about this one? That if you have a save file over 8 megs, meaning that if you do a bunch of crafting and a bunch of like collecting of stuff and have a lot of stuff in your inventory, it actually corrupts your save.
So basically, if you have more save data on this one game than a PS2 memory card, your game's screwed.
Yeah.
I saw on Giant Bomb, Jeff Gersman, I think, described it best when talking about the game. Outside of all the bugs, he said it feels like GTA. Not GTA 5, it feels like GTA 3. You know, like it feels like an open world game made in the PS2 era. Like between just the way the AI works, the way the world works and reacts to you, the way all that stuff feels like it's designed, it feels like it's from a game designed in the PS2 era.
And that's what I was getting at. Like it is not finished on a technical level, and I think they would have needed another year, maybe even 2, to finish this. And the games they were promising, from what I've seen of reviews, if you follow the rails, if you go through the main story, not really deviating too much, and you just kind of play those stories, the game is fantastic. It's everything you wanted the Cyberpunk game to be outside of the bugs. But there is supposed to be so much more outside of that in the sandbox to play with, like with side quests that they've been promising, that should be there that isn't. And it's clear that this is an upper management issue, because whenever you see the devs, they were clearly in love with this game. They loved this project. They were working on it hard, and this was their baby.
Right.
It seems like upper management was like, hey, with COVID like hitting kind of stride, with it being the holiday season, on top of that, we want this game out now. No more delays. And honestly, the delays would have been fine, but they shot themselves in the foot by saying the game was complete and playable. Right. If they didn't say that, if they'd just been transparent and like, hey, this game just isn't ready. Yes, we put it up for pre-order a year ago, but we ran into delays. COVID's made stuff slow down, I'm sure. Like, so much could have gone wrong, but they were just like, no, we're going to double down on the fact that the game is ready. And that's why people got pissed.
I also remember back when this game was announced, everybody assumed it would be a next-gen exclusive. And then when they announced, like a year or so later that, oh no, it's coming to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. It's coming to these current last-gen systems. Everyone was really surprised by that, because everything that they had shown up to that point made it seem like, oh, this is clearly aiming to be a next-gen title. And in retrospect, looking at the debacle that those current gen versions of the game are, maybe it would have just been in their best interest to make it a next-gen exclusive.
Well, not only that, but like, did you look at the launch list? They tried to put this on everything.
Yeah, like Stadia, multiple versions of the Xbox, multiple versions of PlayStation.
I don't know if like the higher ups were just blinded by money. Essentially, they saw the chance to put this everywhere. Everyone's gonna buy it, and they just ran with that.
Yeah.
And the worst part is the developers had built so much of a trust with Witcher 3 that the management seems to have cashed that consumer trust.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that check is gone now. It's been spent and burned.
Right. So, by the way, I don't know if you know that. How bad is it when your development debacle ends up as a story in the New York Times?
Yeah, I have seen a bunch of like New York Times, Washington Post, Slate, like all sorts of mainstream news articles being like, "Hey," and a lot like what this title is how did one of the biggest, most excited, most wanted games of the year turn out into such a debacle?
Not the game of the year. This was by far one of the biggest pre-orders in history. 8 million pre-orders.
I think part of this is also, if you think about it, how much people do you think invested in this game before it launched? Like invested in CD Projekt Red, put money towards this game that they thought they were going to make back, and they just lost their ass.
That's the thing. That's the thing right there. It is a publicly traded company. And in this article out of the New York Times, it mentions, quote, lawyers and investors in Warsaw are circling the situation, contemplating a class action lawsuit against the company. So yeah, and this is where in that meeting that they held, that emergency meeting where they said, yeah, we really probably should have spent more time. We didn't do our job. Management is taking responsibility. When they did their best to say the right thing, but unfortunately at that point, when you pair it with it runs surprisingly well, it's full and complete. When you put those two things together, it looks like investor fraud. And that is what they're talking about. So there was a partner in the Polish firm Mikolaj Orochowski, and he's apparently an investor in CD Projekt Red, who wrote, according to Google Translate, we are currently analyzing, together with the law firm's team, the grounds for bringing a class action suit together with the notification of the possibility of committing a crime under Article 286 of the Penal Code, misrepresentation in order to obtain financial benefits, which is a fraud in Polish law. In addition, a New York firm called Wolf, Haldenstein, Adler, Freeman, and Hertz LLP has announced that it too is investigating a potential securities class action lawsuit against CD Projekt SA. And they're calling for investors who have incurred losses to make contact with them for this lawsuit. So it's not just a couple of investors who've lost their shirts. It is stockholders, and those are big effing lawsuits. And when you're talking about a publicly traded company, when you look at the beginning of the year, they were saying it's full and complete, it's ready to go, it runs beautifully, it runs surprisingly well on next gen, and then it doesn't. And the stock loses. It's now down something like 46% in the last 2 weeks. That's called investor fraud. Potentially. So it's going to be a lot of freaking lawsuits. This game is going to set a lot of records, my friends, and it's not the good ones.
I'm hoping that any of the upper management who has stock in their company did not sell prior to the release of this game, because if they did,
that was real bad.
If they did, that's at least in the United States, and I can't imagine it's any different in Poland. You go to jail for that. That's called insider trading.
But it's interesting just in a grander picture. Like, it feels like each year we get a new one of these games that sets a new bar for like unfinished buggy releases. Like, at first it was No Man's Sky, which was just it was a game that worked, but it was not the game that was sold and hyped.
Right, exactly. And they sued about that too, because it was a little bit, that also wasn't a publicly traded company. All rules, it's a very different set of rules for those.
But then you got Bethesda with Fallout 76. That was like, oh, this is a buggy mess, and also just kind of badly designed. But apparently now they've kind of turned it around, and now we get Cyberpunk, and it feels like each year brings a new low bar for some game to be released like unfinished, and it just makes me wonder what's next for 2020. What can out Cyberpunk?
I can't imagine anything will out Cyberpunk because
You can't
ultimately,
imagine it now, but
depending
you
on
know what? I guarantee you it'll happen.
here's my prediction early on, depending on what happens, and honestly, I'm pretty sure that this is what's going to happen. There are going to be investor lawsuits. They're going to be massive. There's going to be so many, and this isn't counting the consumer lawsuits. There's going to be so many of them that they won't possibly be able to keep up, and CD Projekt Red is going to go out of business and have to sell all of their assets.
I don't think that, because
Witcher's not going to belong to them.
No, but they have GOG, and GOG is a big money maker in the same way that Steam is. Like,
Speaking of which, I forgot about that story with GOG.
Before we get into GOG, I just want to say that, like, if you look at those games that you mentioned, like No Man's Sky, that game has turned around.
Mhm.
Like,
Right.
it's massively popular actually now.
It got the Game Award for Best Ongoing Game. For what that's worth.
Again, like I said earlier, I think the people who worked on this game, the ground developers, love it. And I think given the chance to fix it, they will. And I would hate to see them punished for this, because I truly don't believe it's their fault.
Yeah.
Well, even if they make a good game, that's looking at it from a consumer standpoint. The damage has been done when investors have lost 40% of their investment into this company. That damage is done, especially if it looks like it was intentional fraud. And, there's an argument, it looks pretty freaking intentional, that they were misled. So yeah, I that's the lawsuits, the investor lawsuits certainly are a foregone conclusion.
Looks like a 15% drop currently, which is still huge.
15%? No, it was. Let's see. Let me take a look. Stand by.
I know it's around like 18 now.
18 since when?
No, I'm saying it's 18 now. So I don't know what it was.
Now it was at 40 before.
Apparently,
it was 22 when we talked last week.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Stock price drops.
The best case scenario is that, they invested these lawsuits from, they weather these lawsuits from the investors because they have GOG and they can. And in time, they release enough patches that by this time next year, or even better, within 6 months, like, this game is working on consoles and it is at least a good playable game. And then at that point, CD Projekt Red can go on to make Witcher 4, which seems to be like where their real forte is, and release something that actually is really good out of the gate.
And see, this is a game I still want to buy. This is a game I still have hope for. As long as like CD Projekt Red isn't hobbled by this. From what I've seen about everyone, if you fix the bugs, there is gold here.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. It's a really good game, except it is either the bugs and unplayable.
You basically bought a beta. You bought the beta.
Not even that. You bought an alpha. When you have things that are like game save corrupting, that's an alpha.
Yeah.
But like, what is there, if polished, if finished, is going to be glorious that we've been promised? They just got forced to show their hand early. They got forced to release something that wasn't ready.
Right, by their own management that was writing checks with their mouths that the rest of the company could not cash. And they should have known that they couldn't cash them. All of the things that we are upset about are all things that they actually literally promised us as recently as 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, you put that game in front of like these upper management, and you get 20 people to play this game. Those 20 people will all find new and fascinating bugs from what we're seeing. Like, no game has run perfectly. And it is clear that if there was any playtesting, they knew this would happen. They literally were cashing in on consumer goodwill that CD Projekt has had for the last 2 years for Cyberpunk.
Mm-hmm.
They knew it was there, and they're using it.
So also something to keep in mind, if you are playing it, especially if you are playing it on an Xbox Series X, because it's not playable on the Xbox One, be aware that if you take a screenshot, some screenshots of
If you
the
try to
game,
record these bugs,
if you kind of record some of these bugs, or even if it's just some screenshots within the game and you upload them to Xbox, you may very well get a strike against you. Yeah, it might be due to the amount of dildos, or maybe it's the penises hanging out of pants or breasts bursting through shirts, clipping, not intentional clipping, but there was at least one reporter who said that he received a warning and a takedown from Xbox and had his reputation lowered on his Xbox because he uploaded a screenshot from the game because it was deemed to be offensive.
I can see that for especially some of those genital bugs, because I
Ew.
imagine some yeah, genital bugs always ew. Oh, I imagine the whatever like automatic algorithm or something goes into recording stuff like that is going to catch like, oh, this looks like a penis hanging out exposed. That's not good. We're going to give a strike against you. And I can see how that happens, especially with this game that actually made it a fairly big selling point of customize your genitals and then they clip through your clothing. I can't imagine that this would actually happen with, bugs of a car going through a wall, or bugs of, someone clipping through a wall, or things like that. Any normal bugs.
Well, also there are tons of dildos and things in the background that are not safe
true.
for work, that are like irrespective of bugs. It's part of the game. But keep in mind that uploading these things may get you a strike against your Xbox account for inappropriate content. Just be aware. And also, if you're playing it, do not let your save don't hoard stuff and don't craft stuff. Don't keep a lot of stuff in your inventory, because it may actually corrupt your entire save file.
If you're playing, just don't play the game.
Just don't play the game. Yeah. Bottom line, don't play the game. Go get yourself a refund. Oh, also, in addition to the refunds, Sony's doing refunds, Xbox is doing refunds, and Best Buy is doing refunds.
Oh, they are. They've come out and said that.
Yeah.
That's impressive. I assumed that no
loaded
retailer would do it.
I am drunk.
I did see something that GameStop said explicitly, we are not doing refunds.
Because we don't care, because you already hate us.
They're pretty much like, we can't
Our
afford
reputation
this.
can't get any lower than it is, so let it rip.
We're dying.
Right.
We can't get this back.
Your money,
we need it.
we've already spent it.
In slightly happier news.
All right.
One thing I think is cool before we can get into like other issues with GOG and all that. Ghost of Tsushima, which is probably my favorite game of this year. They have released new, not DLC, but they've released new costumes for the multiplayer Legends mode based on other PlayStation properties. So they've got a costume that's inspired by by God of War, by Bloodborne, Shadow of the Colossus, and Horizon Zero Dawn. And in order to unlock them, you have to play the multiplayer mode, and you have to at least beat a level with each of the 4 classes, because each of these costumes is associated with one of the classes. So as long as you beat a level with the class, you can get this costume. So this is my PSA out there to play the Legends mode, and for Edie and Andrew, I need someone to play this Legends mode with so that I can unlock these costumes.
Yeah.
Now that I've got the PlayStation back and I've downloaded Tsushima.
All right. Well, I
very
have Tsushima downloaded. I could play it with you, but if you play that, do I have
bought
to
it?
like? I've had it. I've had it since before I got the PlayStation.
No. Do you have to what?
Do I
didn't think
do I
you'd-
have to? Do I
Sorry,
have
go
to? I haven't downloaded it. I just bought it. Do I have to complete the game to join you in it? In this?
I don't think I think because I have not tried the multiplayer mode, but from what I understand, it's a separate mode.
Okay.
So you don't have to play through any of the single player to get to it. It might
Okay.
help to like learn the mechanics and all that, but you can just learn the mechanics playing the multiplayer mode.
We hope.
Yeah. Also, from what I've seen, it also is kind of a very different style of game.
Right.
But yeah, that's just a cool thing to put out this free new content, and it's more of like how Astra's Playroom was kind of this celebration of PlayStation. To have this PlayStation exclusive release costumes, it's like, hey, you remember God of War? Didn't you love that game? Here's a costume inspired by God of War. It's just kind of a feel good gimme at the end of the year.
Right. By the way, do we know if GOG is providing refunds for?
They are.
Okay, good.
Yes.
That would be really.
It's fucking better. Like, yeah.
Wouldn't that be hilarious? So do anybody want to talk about the devotion thing?
Yeah, so with GOG, okay. Last year, a game came out on Steam called Devotion from the developer, I think it's like Red Strings.
No, it's Red Candle.
Red Candle Games, yes. And they had previously released a game called Detention, which is
No,
another indie horror
Devotion.
game.
Is it
No,
Devotion?
previously.
Okay.
I think they had released a game called Detention, which was a really good indie horror game. Like I played it and talked about it on a Pop Matters podcast years ago. I thought it was really cool. So they released this game called Devotion last year. I believe it's last year, 2019. And because of this Easter egg slash
just like some background assets.
Yeah, a background asset, a placeholder. That's the word I'm looking for. A placeholder asset that wasn't removed, quote unquote, that basically was a joke about the current authoritarian leader of China being looking like
Xi
Winnie the
Jinping.
Pooh. Okay, I don't know his name. Yeah.
Xi Jinping, I forget what I guess it's like the president of China.
There's a meme going around of him being Winnie the Pooh or looking like Winnie the Pooh.
Everybody,
like,
it's kind of
China fucking hates that and will burn anything that associates him with Winnie the Pooh.
Right, and keep in mind, Red Candle is Taiwanese.
Yes, which is also probably a strike against them in terms of
because China says that Taiwan is part of China. Taiwan is like, fuck you. No, we're an independent country. And it's been very contentious for years and years and years and years.
And that's why when they say, oh, this is just placeholder art that we didn't get removed, it's kind of like, well, was it really? Because we can understand why you would put that in there. But whatever, it was in there. China got mad. And so they had the game pulled from Steam and kind of pulled from purchase literally everywhere that you could buy it.
It wasn't them. It wasn't like the Chinese government.
It wasn't China, but
Steam and said, no, we don't want you.
Because Steam does business in China.
Right. And Chinese gamers descended upon Steam, writing them letters about how dare you have this game in here. It's offensive. You need to remove it. And Steam capitulated.
A lot of negative reviews on the game.
Right. Review bombed by essentially Chinese gamers that may or may not have been supported by the government of China.
Yeah. And so, like a week ago, well, I forget the exact date. I don't know. I don't know the exact date, but GOG basically says, hey, we're going to be selling Devotion. And they put out a release that says, hey, we're going to be selling Devotion. And then literally hours later, they put out another release that says, actually, no. And the release that they put out recanting that feels really disingenuous because I have that tweet in front of me. It says, earlier today, it was announced that the game Devotion is coming to GOG. After receiving many messages from gamers, we have decided not to list the game in our store. And it just feels really disingenuous because it's like they're trying to put this on gamers and saying, oh, us not releasing this game is us reacting to the will of gamers and what they want.
It's community feedback.
Exactly. Which, if you've been following the story of Devotion, all you know is kind of bullshit. And it's a debacle that, again, feels entirely of CD Projekt's own making, because they put out this announcement that said this game is coming to our platform and then immediately took it back. And so you know that there was something going on behind the scenes where some messages got mixed and some wires got crossed. And so it's unfortunate because I would love to buy that game, but again, as of December 2020,
another bad luck for CD Projekt Red, because of course CD Projekt Red runs GOG. It's just another nail in their coffin of like, hey, gamers. All right, first off, the only people who would be complaining about this is Chinese gamers. So for the rest of the world, it's perfectly fine, but you would actually fuck over this really good game for China, essentially. And of course, I have to add this into here, which is, by the way, I'm giving it an early award of tweet of the year to the fake account, the comedy account, ex-CEO Kaz Hirai, who GOG made their announcement by saying earlier today, it was announced that the game Devotion is coming to GOG. After receiving many messages from gamers, we've decided to not list the game in our store. To which ex-CEO Kaz Hirai wrote, earlier this month, Cyberpunk 2077 was released on the PlayStation 4. After receiving many messages from gamers, we've decided not to list it in our game, the game in our store.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that whoever's writing that nailed that one right in the head. Tweet of the year, by no question.
And so I don't know what Red Candle will do next. In the chat, AC Wraith has linked to a PC Gamer article where the developer says that they won't stop striving after being dropped by GOG. And I'm not sure why they don't release it on something like itch.io, which is a much more independent focused game.
I think that's probably what's going to happen. But
to be fair, you can play the game. You just have to get it through other means. But it is available through those other means.
And, so very typical of the Chinese government. The more noise they make about things, the more attention they give it to them. First off, not many people really appreciated the Winnie the Pooh reference. Now, everybody knows in gamingverse what the Winnie the Pooh reference is, also, with regard to Xi Jinping.
Red Candle Games is not a big developer, and I thought
I know them now. I brought it out of my own head.
I thought Detention was a really great indie horror game. Nobody fucking played that game. Like, it was one of the many hundreds of indie horror games that came out on Steam and is just like, hey, this is surprisingly good. It's what was it? The Barbra Streisand effect? The Streisand effect.
The Streisand effect.
Where you try to suppress something and you only bring more attention to it.
That's exactly right.
That's always
actually good. That's a good lead-in into the next story about Twitch.
Oh, what's your next story about Twitch? By the way, the way that you can support them, and a lot of people on Twitter and everywhere else has said that if you want to support Red Candle Games, Detention is still available on Steam. Go buy it.
I hope that game is Detention. I hope I got the title right.
Is it? You have to look it up. But yeah,
yes, it is. It is good.
Yeah, go buy Detention. Everybody says it is a great game. If you're looking to scratch that horror itch, you might not be able to get Devotion, but you can definitely still get Detention, and it can support Red Candle Games long enough to be able to at least get, if not get to their next game, get to a point where Devotion can actually be released on a platform that isn't going to buckle under to state censorship. So you were saying about Twitch.
So yeah, Twitch released like their new I forget the terms, like articles. Basically, they banned a bunch of terms that you can no longer use. And a lot of these terms are kind of curious because they're not really insults, or they're only insults when generally used against like white guys. Words like simp or incel. And so specifically, one of the funny things that happened because of this is after they banned the word simp, use of the word simp in Twitch chats literally doubled.
Okay. Simp?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, simp.
Okay, so from my understanding,
Wow.
it is only when it is used as an insult.
Yeah, it's only in
Well,
a
yeah,
derogatory
yeah.
context, but it's also like,
But that's like saying
how do you determine that?
simp
That's the real
is such
tricky line.
an archaic term. It really is. I
Well,
mean,
what is referred to now is it's basically gotten on. It's taken on a
are they
second
gonna
life.
ban zounds and crikey?
Well, now it
and
specifically
golly
refers
gee?
to a guy that like gives a lot of money to a female Twitch streamer.
Not just guy. Like, it is
Oh,
general
it is
neutral.
actually
This,
used.
Well, it's
Okay.
generally a guy. It's like you're simping for her. It's like, oh,
Oh, okay.
you're,
So it's
you're
been
giving a
repurposed.
lot of money to her. You're defending her on social media. It's the same way that, oh, you're a white knight.
Right.
It's like,
You're,
oh, you're
you're a
simping.
patsy.
Yeah, kind of patsy. You're overly engaged in defense of this Twitch streamer more than you should be.
Got it.
With the implication being like, oh, you clearly love her and she doesn't know who you are.
Simp girls on Twitch.
Yeah. Well, it's a simp incel guy. All these terms that got banned are basically references to white dudes, right? Like if I'm a simp incel in love with the Twitch streamer, generally I'm gonna be a white guy.
Very
I'm not
Because
statistically that just may be true.
Statistically, it may be true, but it's also like, well, they still haven't technically banned the N-word. So
You're kidding me.
no,
They
I read
haven't banned the N-word, but
I read
they
an
banned
article that,
incel?
And
that
virgin, by the way.
moderators have to like ban that word specifically within the chat. It's not a blanket ban like it is for these.
What the fuck?
So yeah, and that's where the issue comes from. Was like, wow, you ban simp, but you don't ban this. Like,
fuck?
really? Oh yeah, and the other word that they banned in a derogatory context was virgin. So simp, incel, virgin, and when you put all those together, it paints a very strong picture of a kind of guy who spends all his time watching a Twitch stream.
Well, it creates a protected class that without protecting classes that legally need protecting.
All protected classes.
Again, it's also stupid, but and it clearly backfired.
For the record, as of today, I am making an absolute knee-jerk outrage decision without consulting Nick and Andrew. We will no longer be this will be our last show on Twitch. It's banned. If they're not going to ban the N-word, then I don't want any part of them.
Well, they banned
I'm
speech.
outraged. I am. Oh my God. I am just appalled. I mean, they clearly set a political line that I don't want any part of, and I don't want to support any platform that isn't going to protect people equally and equitably. Yeah, no. Sorry, guys.
Oh,
so you'll find us next week on YouTube and Facebook.
This article is from a day ago. Twitch tweeted about the N-word ban on the platform following the controversy this week.
And change
we
my
also
mind.
Automatically rules start to become different when N-word with an A is used as opposed to N-word with an R. This version is potentially allowed in use, but if used within a harassment context, can result in potential punishment on the platform.
So it's essentially the same thing that they've lined up for.
So at least it seems like they have banned the use of the word with a hard R.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll see about next
Wait.
week. I'm gonna have to delve deeper into this one to decide.
And granted, this article is dated December 20th. So this article is dated today.
I imagine it's an old rule that just is getting brought up today. Like they're like, oh shit, why is this happening?
Yeah, in the chat, AC Ray said that black streamers are happy to be able to use the word for themselves and they understand the context. So maybe that's an instance where, ban the hard R but not the A.
Right.
All right. Again, it's all about insulting, right? Like
it's how it's used. Right. It's context. It's always been context. And the context is anybody with my complexion doesn't get to use it ever.
And I felt like, how do they
even with an A?
That context, because Twitch is such a big platform, you cannot manually check each use of that word, right? You might be able to use software to flag when it comes up, but to have each person manually check it, you can't do that. It's too big of a platform.
No, it's more of with words like this, it's community reporting. It's hey, we're in this chat together. We see that this person used it. Everyone report this particular message. And then that'll get saved and sent to whoever deals with that.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Because you can't just it's not a word like a filter. It's not like you say it and then you get little asterisks or anything like that. It's community reporting.
Yeah. So anyway, here's the article about that. Twitch.
Did they make the cut, Edie? Are they still in the running?
We'll see. We'll see. I've got one day off next week, and then I got Christmas holiday, and all I'm doing is sitting in this house and doing nothing. So I will be researching. So we'll see if we're going to be on Twitch next week. I'm sure Twitch will completely buckle when we aren't on their platform.
Hey, man.
Seriously.
Oh yeah, when we take the game audience, the GameHounds audience away,
our 9 listeners right now.
StreamYards,
they listen to us. Losing Ninja. Yeah.
StreamYards does listen to us. So. And AC Ray says, shout out to Spawn on Me with Khalif Adams, who recently commented on the bans. I will do it's one of the things I'm going to research and gather information. Whew, I'm a little warm. I got upset. I'm having a hot flash.
Well, unfortunately, the other news stories I have are not
Hulk smash.
The best news story I had this week was cool costumes coming to Tsushima. The other small news story I have is also kind of fucked up.
Bring it. I am just liquored enough to get irrationally angry at anything. Bring it.
Let's do this.
I've got my pitchforks and my torches warmed up. I am ready to march.
So Ubisoft has started selling an XP booster in the shop for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And this is kind of annoying because when Odyssey came out, the last Assassin's Creed game, it came out with an XP booster already available in the store. And one of the things I heard about that game, and that I think we talked about on this podcast, that Goldie mentioned specifically, is that leveling up feels slow enough that it really feels like that XP booster is necessary.
Mm-hmm, it is.
And so
leveling up is very slow in this game.
And after that, Kotaku, which is where I got this article from, they had asked the developers in interviews in the past about this issue. And the developers have said, yes, we've rebalanced that. There's no need for any type of booster. And, sure enough, when the game came out, it did not have a booster. And in all the time that it's been out, I have not heard anyone criticize the progression speed. Like, it doesn't seem like it's too slow or frustratingly slow.
It's not frustratingly slow, but it is slow. Like, I've played a fuck ton of it, and I am just cracking 200. Granted, I'm
also
about
realize,
3/4 of the way through the game, but
But,
like
it's
there
a
are
long
people that are
game.
level 400 at this point.
Yeah, but like, it is a long game, and so
It's a
the
very long
progression
game.
system should be kind of slow in order to keep up with all that. But then, they go and announce that, hey, because we do like extra money, if you want to spend an extra $10 for an XP booster, you can do this. And
$10?
I think it's $10. That's what it was for Odyssey, at least. I assume it's the same
Wow,
for.
That's such a if it's $10,
It's $10.
that is such a ripoff. Like literally, you have adjusted like one value in this game for $10. Like if you had
Yes.
access to the code, you could literally just go do this yourself.
And I know this also comes on the heels of, I think it was Call of Duty putting out some like booster packs that you can pay for, a solid month or so after the game was released. And this just seems to be the continuing trend with a lot of big budget games, is that when the game comes out, it doesn't include these paid for boosters because they know that if they included them in the initial release, that would negatively impact reviews. So they wait a month, get the good reviews, and then put in these shortcut packs.
Right.
That always feels like that's one of the I can forgive bugs. I can forgive a game releasing early because they'll work on that. But $10 to change value, or if like during the development process they like, okay, this is how the game would play if you had normal progression. We're gonna cut that back a tiny bit so that you have to go buy this booster. That feels so predatory and gross to me.
Yeah.
That's egregious. That's egregious to me. It's not a matter of, you don't need that cosmetic. It's they've changed the game to force you to do something like that.
Yeah, and the one benefit in this instance is that because it comes so far afterwards, it doesn't seem like with Odyssey, it doesn't feel like the game itself was hampered by this. That progression was purposely slowed to make room for this, to like force you to encourage you to buy this pack. Like, I've heard enough good things about Valhalla that I don't think I would need to buy this. But when I was looking into getting Odyssey, in the back of my head, I always added an extra $10 onto like whatever the sale price was, because I had heard, yeah, you really need this booster pack. So at least that doesn't seem to be the case here, but it's still kind of nasty that they would add something like this, a month after release.
And honestly, like again, the effort, like when you make a skin or something, we've talked about the ridiculous prices of skins in games. If you charged $1 for this, that may be even too much money, but at least that'd be okay. Like everyone just throws in an extra $1 who bought the game, so if they sold 4 million copies.
Pay $1 for that. Like that's kind of a no-brainer at that point.
Yeah, but $10 is, and it's an XP boost for how long and how much XP?
I think it's permanent, and I don't know the exact number. It might be. I think it was a 100% boost, so it'd be double.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, that's not okay. That's game breaking.
Oh no! Take that back. It's a 50% experience gain.
Still, even so, it's kind of game breaking. Because that means that at the end of the game, you will be, in theory, if you bought it at the beginning of the game, you will be half as much powerful as you're supposed to be. Now, I know that they have, their most recent patch actually adjusted the gameplay so that nothing that you play, nothing you attack will be more than 51 levels below you or above you.
Interesting.
That was in the last patch. They had a huge patch just a couple of days ago and fixed a bunch of bugs and stuff. And there were some bugs. Like I had a couple of missions that got bugged out that I couldn't complete. Well, I could, but I had to complete it the not fun way. There was one mission where this guy wanted me to get a statuette of a centurion that somebody down in London had. And so I went down to London, and you could do it one of two ways. You could either buy it from this asshole, and he was a real asshole. And I'm like, I'm not giving you my fucking money. I have loads of money, but I'm not giving it to you. So I decided to steal it from him by going to a little girl around the corner and saying, hey, can you distract him while I steal his key that is sitting on this chairs, like this little stool right next to where he's standing. So she, gave her a couple of coins, and she went up and started having a conversation with him about, I found some statuettes, and she just kept on going, well, there was one with curly hair and a big nose, and there was one with so she's describing them over and over and over again. And while he's distracted, I'm supposed to be able to run around the corner, go to that stool, pick up the key, go inside the house, and get out of the house and steal the statuette. Well, I did it, and he goes over to talk to her, and I go up to the stool, and there's no key there. It shows on the map that there's a key, and when I hit my my special viewing mode, my Odin's eyes or whatever it is, I can see it says, hey, there's a key there, but you walk up to it and nothing triggers, so you can't pick it up.
You missed my great joke. It's freedom vision, just so we're clear.
Okay.
Back in my day, it was Eagle Vision.
Yeah, now it's Odin's sight. That's what it is. Odin's sight.
Fucking
So
millennials.
it was not triggering, and I couldn't complete it. And it's like every time I would run by, I could hear the girl still talking, and it's got a big nose, and he's got curly hair. And it's like I'd be running around London doing other things. It's like, oh, that girl's still having that conversation. It's been like 2 weeks, but she's still sitting there having that conversation. So it was locked. So after the patch, it was still broken, but it reset the mission. So I could go over to him and start it all over again. And it's like, I wonder if they actually fixed this mission, or and I'm like, I'm not going to take the chance. I'm just going to buy it from him because I don't want to have to have that thing open. So I just bought it, which I hated doing because that's not the fun way. The fun way would have been to steal it. But
yeah,
you got to do what you got to do. All right. So my next item is, there has been a lot of concern for quite some time that, given that Rockstar makes the lion's share of its money right now off of the Grand Theft Auto Online and Red Dead Redemption, lesser so online, that the online versions of their games make far, far more money than their single player versions. There was a lot of talk about possibly that they would just get rid of single player and just create online stuff. Well, there was a interview with two of the developers with GQ, Rockstar Games' Tariq Hamad and Scott Bouchard. And they confirmed that Grand Theft Auto single player content isn't going anywhere. It's going to stay right where it is. In fact, they said that not only single player content is going to stay, that it sounds like it's going to be a bigger part of GTA Online going forward. So, as an example, the new Cayo Perico heist that was added this month. I haven't played it. It looks awesome, but it can be played entirely yourself. So they may be adding a lot of single player stuff into online, in addition to the single player stories that we know and love from Grand Theft Autos of the future.
Yeah, like I know the GTA Online is a really big moneymaker, but it was built off the back of GTA 5. And
which is one of the most... Go ahead.
It's one of the best-selling games.
Not just one of the best games. It was one of the best-selling. It was one of the best games. It was a fantastic narrative. It was a great story.
Yeah, and GTA games have regularly set those kind of records for purchasing while being only single-player games. And I imagine that the online portion probably replaced any single-player DLC. Like you don't see a Lost and Damned for GTA 5. Instead, you see online DLC.
Perico. Yeah.
But I can't imagine that they
Perico.
would give up those multi-billions of dollars and just, the prestige of having like the #1 most sales of a GTA 6.
Well,
You're,
yeah, and
they're
that's
never going to get Game of the Year without actually having a
Yeah, exactly.
narrative single-player story mode.
well, because if you think about it, let's assume for a minute that they just released like GTA 6 online. You would not get back anyone who bought the single player game for the experience that then tried the online because it was free. You would only retain a portion of the people currently playing GTA Online. So you would lose just a crap ton of people.
I wouldn't buy a GTA Online if it was GTA Online 6. I wouldn't. GTA, to me, is that story. Those are always so good, so powerful, so compelling. They're, dare I say, almost when you talk about story-based shooters of any kind, role-playing shooters of any kind, they're kind of canon. They are the Shakespeare of single-player games. The games are important. The games are really well written, more so than. I mean, I'm looking at you, Bethesda, not Bethesda, but BioWare with Dragon Age. I freaking love Dragon Age, but I would absolutely buy if I had a choice of one game that I could play before I died, a single player story mode game. If I was given the option of a new GTA or a new Dragon Age, I would take a GTA because those games are so good in a literary sense.
I do think like GTA 5 especially, I feel has only gotten more important and relevant as time has gone on because that story is all about like lower and middle class being forced to fight amongst themselves for the crumbs that the upper class gives them.
Yep, absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. If there is ever a game that is prescient about what's coming, GTA has been that.
Yeah, which is great because there are multiple endings to that game. And I guess I'll kind of spoil one of them, but like an ending in which everyone teams up together is basically like, yo, let's have everyone team up to kill the rich people. Like that is how the game ends, is with like, let's fucking eat the rich.
Eat the rich.
And it's like, wow, this was made several years before that became like a hashtag.
Yeah.
Kind of neat.
GTA, like, this isn't a, like, this is a decent fear. Like, this is understandable because if you look at their release schedules, like Rockstar, this was pointed out years ago, but they would come out with like a new 2 or 3 new games a year. Right. Just every year they would release something, sometimes new IPs, sometimes sequels. And then GTA Online happened. They did not release a game for 5 years until I think Red Dead. Like, it totally affected their landscape at how well it did.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And yeah, I can believe that it has prevented them from releasing other single player games, but I cannot believe it has prevented them from releasing a single player GTA 6. If anything, it has made them it has like shrunk their vision of single player games so that now we might only get GTA and Red Dead Redemption in the future of Rockstar, and like no more table tennis, no more Midnight Club, especially since at another news story, they lost that bid for Codemasters to EA. So
EA bought them?
Yeah, EA bought them. And so yeah, no more Midnight Club.
I did not know that.
No more other things. But we will at least
that's gotta hurt.
In the future get GTA 6.
Ooh, the burn cream. Oh, invest in burn cream. Sell your CD Projekt Red stock and buy burn cream. That's gotta hurt for them because that was all but in the bag.
Take
and then
Two offered like $900 million, and EA came back with $1.2 billion. Of all the companies in the gaming sphere, could Take-Two really not scrounge up another $300 million? Or did they just really not care?
They didn't. Well, they probably didn't want to get into a bidding war.
Does anyone ever want to point out that like these numbers are getting absurd?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, totally.
it's worth mentioning. You look at the Bethesda buyout. These numbers are getting kind of stupid.
Well,
Yeah.
Bethesda sort of made sense because it was Microsoft and they could use it as a first party, not only a first party developer, but it would also lock them down for Game Pass. That actually sort of made business sense. Codemasters doesn't.
That's not necessarily what I was.
That sale of Codemasters is pretty much the death of Codemasters because there is no way that EA can make 1.2 enough money to cover what they call the nut, the loan that they had to take out. Think of it like buying a house. You buy a house, you're going to have a mortgage. The mortgage has a payment you have to make on that with interest. There is no way that Codemasters can cover the nut for our $1.2 billion investment that will make them that much. There's just no way.
It may not be about that.
Unless there is something that they've got that we don't know about.
It just feels like, oh man, they're gonna make like 2 Need for Speed games and then get shut down.
And yeah, that's the EA strategy.
That's probably what's going to happen. And that first game that comes out of them has to be a Cyberpunk before the fail.
I mean, it doesn't have to. Like they have
at $1.2 billion investment. Yes, it does.
No, but like they've chiseled away a solid niche in various racing genres between like dirt and I think they did grid and I know they did F1. Like as long as they can keep to that niche, they could recoup that cost over time.
Yeah, I mean, it depends.
But it's at $1.2 billion that the amount that they were earning in the past can't be enough. It has to be more. It will not cover the nut.
I mean,
and also like there's always a possibility that EA mainly spent this just to prevent Take-Two from getting it.
That's exactly why they did it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also another question. Like, it's
also
not necessarily about them. You don't necessarily need to make your money off this. This could just be a strategic purchase. This could be like they just want to own that racing, that niche, and like they're going to load it up with transactions. This could be a stock price move. Like, hey, we're going to get better like numbers if we purchase this game studio.
Yeah,
it could be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be that.
Right. But none of those bode well for Codemasters as being a developer.
Yes, because like the Need for Speed franchise has been completely floundering in recent years. And so buying a racing developer feels like, hey, Code.
Oh, did we lose him or did I lose you? Nick, your headset just died. Your audio died. Remember that audio thing where you have to like renew your audio? Yes, but if that's the case, and I agree, I think it was a cock blocking move for Grand Theft Auto for Rockstar Games. It was absolutely cock blocking. Rockstar Games was buying them to actually use them. EA bought them to not use them. What that means is they're going to hold them, get as much money as they can, take their IPs, and shut them down.
And see, I wasn't even necessarily meaning like how much you purchase a thing for, but just like buying Bethesda, $7.5 billion is so much money.
It's like whenever you hear one company buying another, it's always more than $1 billion.
And we've just reached that point, right? Think about 10 years ago, we're talking 100 millions is a large amount of money, and now we've.
I remember back.
If anyone wants to buy GameHounds for $1 billion, contact me at esellers@gamehounds.net. I will totally sell.
I remember back when like Avatar made $1 billion and like Pirates of the Caribbean 2 made $1 billion. It was a big deal. And now, if the latest Marvel movie doesn't make $1 billion, it's like, oh, they bombed.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Well, and that's really bad. That's actually bad for the marketplace because anything that would have been a success 5 years ago is considered a failure now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Blood Reaper says it would be cool if they mix single player story and online. It would be cool. That's exactly what they said they were going to do. Here is the quote, direct quote. I think, and this comes from Scott Bouchard. I think you can see with online. And I think that going forward, we're going to inject more of that single player element in there. So you are going to see more single player elements within their online platforms, in addition to their online story modes.
My only issue with the take to like GTA and Red Dead Redemption Online stuff is just the inflation. As those games have like gone on, is that single player content going to be enough to buy the newer stuff, or are you still going to like just limp along so you can buy that one thing that you could have bought with like 3 of those with one shark card? Right? Like, I don't know what balance they're striking there, but the last time I checked on GTA, it wasn't great. Like, you did not make enough money to buy a lot of those big ticket items without putting some amount of real money into it.
Right.
Speaking of real money,
Corey Wallace says,
purchases-
back in my day, we bought cigarettes for 89 cents a pack. That's not true. That's not true, because this is an example of how old school Edie is. My mom would give me $1 and a dime to go across the street to buy her a pack of cigarettes at the gas station across the street.
Hey,
okay,
Corley Wallace could be 90.
$1.10. It was $1.10 40 years ago.
I can at
Not
least
even
say
that, or that 45 years ago.
when I was a kid, let's say 25 years ago, I distinctly remember movie theater tickets being $6.
Movie theater tickets were $6
And
when I
now
was a kid.
And now they are like 12.
I know.
Default 12. I'm not counting IMAX or any other stuff. They're 12. They have doubled within the past 20 years, 25 years. But speaking of in-game purchases, Coy Wallace in the chat has been talking about the ESO Holiday Festival. Ever since you've been talking about the Assassin's Creed Festival.
Of course.
And one of the things that they've added is a pet snowball.
Yes.
And the way
I
he
heard of-
describes it is fantastic, because he says the snowball pet is almost useless. It just sits there, not rolling around or moving, and just magically spawns when you move.
You just have
I
this.
remember that. I love the idea of the snowball just like popping up around you as you move. And then in the chat, like him and DJ Phil Collins have been saying like, oh man, it'd be great if pet snowballs could merge together into a snowman.
Everyone in a ring
Oh.
just chooses a snowball
AC
pet.
Wraith,
Yeah,
Summon.
that all sounds great.
You met a friend. Talk about ESO. Oh, look at you. You're so cute together. All right. So moving right along. My next item is, where is it? Let's see. Is the dawning. Oh, there we go. So Destiny 2. By the way, you are totally dark, Andrew.
Yeah, no, the light fell down twice, so I've just given up.
Okay. All right.
You have a light, but that doesn't mean that it stays up.
Oh,
Because
Oh, even you got a ring
this
light
is-
too. Nice.
this
no,
is the stand.
that's the light I bought him.
this
Oh,
is the
nice.
stand, but
Okay.
it doesn't really work from like standing up next to me because it looks terrible. It's lighting. Here, I'm gonna.
Oh, that's fine.
That doesn't look bad.
No, that looks fine, Andrew. I don't know what you're talking about. Turn it down a little bit. I would turn it down into the yellow warm mode.
It is on the warm mode.
Perfect. That's actually fine right there. That looks good.
Okay. Anyways, go on.
All right. So,
Come to the light science.
because I've got that exact same light right up there. That's why I've been jumping around, because as it's getting darker in here, I've had to increase the light here. So, right now, going on right now in Destiny 2 is an event called the Dawning event that is asking players to generate Dawning Spirit. And that's done through bounties from Eva Levante, though giving gifts to NPCs, through giving gifts to NPCs, and eventually from a ship that generates spirit on ingredient drops. So there's this event going on. called The Dawning, and it's generating Dawning Spirit. And the challenge is to get to 1 billion Dawning Spirit as a community by the date they have is the 1st, I want to say it is. I forget what the date is. I didn't write it down. So somebody went through and did the math on that. So far they have earned something like 175 million Dawning Spirit in the first 5 days of the event. And they extrapolated that right now the community is earning 37.5 million Dawning Spirit a day. And in order to get to 1 billion Dawning Spirit, if you looked at the cutoff date right now at earning that level, 37.5 million Dawning Spirit a day, that the community will get to 712 million Dawning Spirit. They will not reach that 1 billion mark. And the community will need at least another 8 days to get that in order to have that community benefit. So Bungie apparently looks like they miscalculated and they have set the community up to fail. Granted that amount may change as a couple of things happen. One is that more people will start playing it because it's only a few days into the match. Of course, there will also be some people that stop earning it because they don't want to do it anymore. The alternate is that that as people take time off for the holidays, that they will be jumping into this game more. So they may be earning at a faster rate. But right now, at least the math is saying that the community will not be reaching that 1 billion Dawning Spirit level. And unless Bungie may be forced to change. I mean, has there ever been a community event where the community didn't make it and they said, fuck you, you're not getting it?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I feel like the point of a community event is to complete it.
This happened in Evolve a few times.
Oh, that game. That game did so well.
That game did do great. It just didn't continue to do great.
By the way, I still have your Evolve. I have an Evolve scarf that I bought for you at PAX like 5 years ago.
I still love that game. I am still heartbroken that it ended the way it did.
I'll see if I can find that. I've got it stuffed somewhere. I
mean, in theory, those servers are still up. If we get like 5 people together. Oh, they're not up?
No, you can go play a private game, yeah, but
okay,
the servers are gone. That game is truly dead. You know how people are like, the game's not dead till the servers are off. Well, they took Evolve out back and shot it.
Okay.
So thank you, Blood Reaper. The cutoff date is January 5th. So in order, at least at the current rate of accrual of the Dawning Spirit, that in order to complete the event, the community will actually need to go until January 13th, at least, in order to get it. So we'll see. They may not get it. But that's the thing. It's like, how do you tell? Yeah, Evolve was one of those games, but Evolve also did not really treat its community very well. What do you do as Bungie with Destiny 2 if people don't make it?
Yeah.
You just say, fuck you, sorry, you didn't get it. Thanks for playing.
I feel like if you're going to really stick to that deadline, you need to have some sort of content or bonus available if they fail, right? If they succeed, X happens. If they fail, Y happens. So that there is a split and that something interesting happens either way. Because otherwise it's just, hey, you did this and you get a reward, or hey, you put in all this work, but other people didn't, and so you failed. And it's like working on the worst group project.
Right. And then it turns the community on each other. Do we really want that?
And it's like, hey, all you fucking casual players, you didn't do the things you had to do. And it's like, yeah, I just wanted to shoot space aliens.
That's right. So it's like, I'll only play with you if you earn so much in the Dawning Spirit event. If you didn't earn enough Dawning Spirit, I'm playing with you because you fucked up. Dick. Incel. Simp.
Edie, we're going to get banned from Twitch.
Ban me, bitches. Ban me, please.
They were used in a derogatory manner.
Yes, but not in their
Mhm.
intended manner. They were used in sarcasm. Sarcasm.
Twitch does not understand sarcasm. Edie.
Clearly not. So yeah, so that's gonna happen. So we'll see if that actually happens. Andrew, do you have any other items before we finish up the show?
I'm looking forward to Back for Blood, which is the new Turtle Rock game, which is essentially Left 4 Dead 3.
I saw that there was actually like a 30-minute
talked about that last
playthrough
week.
of that.
It
somewhere.
looks fun.
I forget where, but like there's a substantial amount of gameplay of that.
Yeah, they were
Now
playing
that
it on
it's
their
been
Twitch stream.
shown. That's cool.
Yeah, excited for that. Turtle Rock is still a good studio. I still love them. My poor baby Evolve. Anyways,
Hey, at least they survived Evolve, right?
that's true. Well, technically, critically, Evolve did well. It just didn't retain the player base for the game that it was trying to be.
Well, that's because
critically it did well at the beginning because it was good.
Evolve was interesting because in theory it was really, really good, and if everyone stuck to their roles and like played exactly as they should have, it was really good. But when you throw that design into the real world, you get people that don't know how to play their roles and so are kind of bad at it. You get people purposely not playing their roles and so you kind of fail, and you just get people trying to do everything by themselves that then end up failing. And so it's a design philosophy that just didn't survive the real world. But it's good.
Listen,
It's good in its own little bubble.
the game is 5 years old. We don't need to bore people with it. It's actually dead. I will lament, but we don't. There's a whole video essay that you can go watch about how that game failed.
I have saved, and I think it's still saved on like a PSN profile somewhere, a really cool video of me playing with some other people, and I think I was a hunter and someone else was the monster, and we both killed each other at the same time. And it was the only time I ever saw a draw in that game.
Yeah, I had a draw once.
Because I was the last surviving member, and it was like, flamethrower, he's hacking me, and bleh.
I think
Oh,
twice.
shit.
Twice I've seen a draw. And other than that, yeah.
Draws were, I'm not gonna lie, draws were awesome. There was a sense of accomplishment, more so I think than actually winning, because you assumed a win or loss, and that was such a rare snowflake to get a draw.
It was like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah. But yes, we don't have it's dead, it's gone, it's fine. I'll cry privately after this, but I will always miss it.
You do love your asymmetric team shooters.
I mean,
I
we've said it
do. I
before.
mean-
I'll always remember Evolve as the game that got me a Wii U.
Yeah, it was.
This is the
Yeah.
only game I ever got involved into the community. Like I went on the forums, I talked to people.
Oh, yeah?
It got me out. Yeah, like even the forums are gone now though.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you don't know the story of Evolve and Nick and me, is that I had a Wii U and I was so convinced that Evolve was going to be great. Another one of those games. I was convinced it was going to be great because that was the first time we'd ever seen an asymmetric team shooter like this. That it was just
Still nothing like it still.
Yeah, well,
Like you got something like Dead by Daylight.
Dead by Daylight is a little bit like that.
Yeah, but it's not like that is more of a horror game in that one side is passive and trying to complete objectives, where
Right.
this was a competitive 1v4
Right.
asymmetrical
True.
game. And it is so ridiculously hard to balance as one of the failures of the game.
There's that other serial killer game that was on the Facebook game.
oh no, it was Discord. Yeah, it was that
Discord.
like last year, the graduation or
The
something like that. We played
graduation,
at PAX.
Yeah.
I don't think that lasted very
Senior
long.
year.
And that's a
Yeah.
shame because that was a competitive. That was a Dead by Daylight, but it was competitive in that you could actually kill the four people could kill the serial killer.
Yes, like that was probably closer to something like this.
Right. But so I had a Wii U and I played all of one game on it. And so I told Nick that if he bought Evolve, I would give him my Wii U because I was so convinced Evolve was going to be change everything. And
I mean, you enjoyed the game, but I mean, just fell out.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I got a Wii U, and I never played the Wii.
Never played. See, I got my revenge. Is I actually pawned off a useless console to you.
I think I still have that Wii U in a box in my closet.
Good, you should. You should never get rid of it. It's the only console I have ever gotten rid of. I have never sold nor destroyed nor thrown out nor anything. I have every console that I have ever purchased.
Nice.
With the exception of not a console, but the screen. I had a spare screen for my Commodore 64 that I put online in my BBS. Ooh, that says something. My BBS group, and I sold it to a guy named Kevin, who I subsequently dated. And
was that Kevin 1 or Kevin 2?
Kevin, that's how I met Kevin.
Or is that Kevin 0?
I sold him my Commodore 64 screen.
How many fucking Kevins are there?
Just two.
Are they just clones of each other?
No.
Are you just going through clones?
Oh no. They're nothing like each other. No.
Imagine you got a basement.
No, 2.0 is
tubes with Kevin in it, and you're like, well, Kevin 1's gone. Time for Kevin 2. Kevin 2's done. Time for Kevin 3.
No, Kevin 2.0 that I have that is my husband. He frequently looks at me and said, "How did you date him for as long as you have?" And it's like, I don't know. I dated him for 3 years. We lived together. So anyway, yes, that's how I met. It was because of the sale of that screen, that Commodore 64 screen, that I ended up with my husband.
That is some real butterfly effect shit.
Yeah, it
is. Edie, I think you got a worse trade the second time. Just saying.
So, Nick, when all this is said and done, you and I have to get married now.
Okay, what if I plug the Wii U in? I can
play the Wii U. I'll play the Wii U, whatever. Anything.
Wait. I don't think I can.
Why not?
I don't think it takes HDMI.
It doesn't.
My TV only takes HDMI. Oh shit, I need to get like a
what's bad though is like
I got another Commodore screen if you want to buy it.
HDMI was a standard already, like when Wii U was released. Nintendo, get your shit together.
Yeah, right.
Nintendo had a success with the Wii, and they just got lazy after that for the Wii U.
They always have weird, like low-powered hardware, low-end hardware, but it always does well because it's Nintendo.
Yep. So any other news, any other information, anything we want to talk about before we shut down this show, my friends?
That's all I got.
All right. So let's close this out. You've been listening to GameHounds, episode 575. We recorded this on December 20th, 2020. I've been Edie Sellers. With me has been Nick DiNicola and Andrew Smith. Ways to get a hold of us is gamehounds.net. That is our website. Gamehounds@gmail.com is our email. We record the show live every Sunday, and we will be back next Sunday, even though it's right after Christmas. We'll be here Sundays, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, here on Spreaker. That's speaker with an R, Spreaker.com for the audio. And if you want to watch the video, we are here. YouTube, it is GameHounds Vids, VIDS, as in videos. It is also on Twitch for the moment as The GameHounds, and on Facebook as The GameHounds. If you're watching this on Twitch or Facebook or YouTube or whatever, right now, if you haven't done it already, stop what you're doing, hit the thumbs up, like this video, notification bell if you're on YouTube specifically, so that you can be alerted when we go live next week. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, by the way, don't forget we do have a look at that. There we go, baby.
Yeah,
That's the money shot.
Yeah, that is the money shot. So don't forget that you can also subscribe to our Patreon. If you don't give $1 a month, this cat will die.
Jesus.
$1 a month is all we ask on our Patreon. Our Patreon is
He heard that.
patreon.com/GameHounds. Please help support us so that we can keep doing more of this and, help fund our eggnog addiction. That would be nice.
And this cat, just so everyone knows, the cat's not sick. Edie will just make sure.
Right.
Edie will come to my apartment
I
and
will
kill
shoot that cat. I will shoot that cat for $1 a month. I mean, if you don't pay $1 a month, I will shoot that cat.
Okay, I was about to say.
All right. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it. Have a great night. And please, everyone, please be safe. Take this virus seriously. It's no joke. You do get sick. People around you may very well die. We're in the middle of a surge. Keep a mask on. Don't go to Christmas. Be safe. We want you back here next week. Have a great night. Bye-bye, everyone. See ya. All right. Audio is out. Video is still on.
And Coy Wallace says for $20 a month, you can support Nick and Andrew for a new haircut and pay his light bill.
Oh, Shepherd. By the way, that is Shepherd right now.
Yes. Yeah, this is Shepherd. Diaper Cat is in my bedroom sleeping on the bed.
Cat's so cute.
That is a very cute cat.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's awake, all he does is rub on Nick's face. That cat, I have never seen a cat that loves its owner as much as that cat loves Nick. That cat is freaking loves Nick.
And what's funny is he runs from literally everybody else.
Oh no, yeah, no, he is your cat. That cat adores you in every sense of the word. There's not a cell in your body that is not loved by that cat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love you too, Shepherd. Which I do think it's worth noting, just to bring this back around to games.
Yes.
The reason he's called Shepherd is because me and my old roommates, found him in a bush. Like, has a little kitten. And like I had to crawl into the bush with a hood and gloves, surrounded by like spider webs, and grab him and drag him out from the bush. And because we were just people, we didn't know whether he was a male or female. And so we're like, well, shit, what are we going to call him? We don't know what gender he is. And one of my roommates suggested, well, what about Shepherd? Because, Commander Shepherd can be male or female. And we were like, yeah, sure, that works for us.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
he's actually named after Commander Shepherd of Mass Effect.
Although he really is a Garrus.
He's like, someone talking to me?
We're talking about you, Shepherd. Yes, we are.
Yes.
All right. So on that note, let's close this out. Everyone who's listening, please have a very Merry Christmas. Please be very, very safe, especially if you are considering going with family. No freaking joke. This virus is bad right now. If someone says, hey, let's get together for Christmas, please reconsider, especially if you're talking about family members or anybody over the age of, especially with young children, especially with very old people. Just take a year off. I know it's going to be difficult, but please don't travel. Please stay home. Even if you're allowed to travel in your neighborhood, it's still not a joke. It's bad, and it's bad everywhere, and it's about to get a lot worse. Because here's the rule. I don't know if you knew about this. When you see the amount of new cases that you're getting in, like, we have 1,000 new cases today in your state or wherever you are. The rule of 12 is something that's happening with COVID. 12% of new cases end up in hospitals in 12 days. And of that 12%, 12% of those go into ICU. So keep in mind that whatever you're seeing of those numbers, those are the 12% of people that in 12 days, which is going to be like the end of the year, are going to be showing up in your hospitals. If you don't have a fuck ton of ICU units, your hospitals are about to get overrun. California is about to turn into a shit show dumpster fire. They've already ordered 5,000 body bags and reserved 60 53-foot refrigerator trucks for the bodies. We're about to have a mass casualty event here. And we are not alone. It'd be one thing if it's like, it's New York, it's fine and, wherever, but New York's a shit show. No, it's actually a shit show everywhere right now. That's what's making this surge so bad. So please, 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 do not want to get sick during a mass casualty event. Trust me. And mass casualty events can happen anywhere. It's not just New York where it turns into a shit show at this point. So please be very safe. Wear your mask. Yes, wear your mask. It does make a difference. And even if it doesn't make a difference, if it makes a 1% difference, save yourself, wear a mask. Please don't travel anywhere for holidays. Ultimately, stay home. That's what I'm doing. Trust me, I want to be with all my family. I cannot and I won't. So yeah, that's my happy fun time message for everybody. But seriously, be very safe. We need you back. There's only like 5 of you in the chat room. I mean, we lose one of you lose 20% of our listenership at this point.
That's true. Yeah. You're all very important.
You are all very important. So please, and also have as happy. This is a weird year. Next year's going to be awesome. Think about how awesome next Christmas is going to be by depriving yourself just a little bit this Christmas.
Or at least now that the bar has been set so low, think of how great a regular year will be.
When this vaccine comes through and it all sorts itself out, we're having such a hell of a party. Oh my God, it's going to be awesome. Look forward to that. And every day that we're here, every day we survive, is we're one day closer to that day when the awesome party happens. All right, Nick, and that goes for you too, Andrew. We lose one of you, we've lost 33.3% of the show. So please be very, very safe this year. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Yeah, and as Corey Wallace says, don't forget the thumbs up. Everybody do a thumbs up right now.
Corey Wallace also said that when I was talking about Shepard, there's a joke about a cat in a bush, but he's being PG-13. So good on you, Corey. Keeping it PG-13 for the holidays, keeping it family friendly. We potentially have a pastor listening to this show.
That's true.
So good on you, Corey.
Thank you. By the way, I can see how many of your likes are there, motherfuckers. There's only one person who's thumbs up. And you know who it is? I don't even have to look. I know it's AC Wraith. AC Wraith is the only one who's done it. Did you do a thumbs up? Andrew?
Yes, I did.
Okay. You are the thumbs up.
Oh.
We have one thumbs up and it's yours.
We have 7.
God damn it. Listen, you bastards.
We have 7.
Forget everything I said about losing you, motherfuckers. Hit the goddamn like button.
Edie, we have 7.
We have 7. It's showing 1 on my screen, and it's
Refresh.
Andre Labar. It's AC Wraith. Okay.
Oh,
on Facebook?
On YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
Yes, we have 7 on YouTube. Ignore her. She's a little drunk.
Likes on too many different platforms.
I'm more than a little drunk. I am a lot of drunk right now.
Yeah,
she's an angry.
Of drunk.
She almost canceled Twitch, like on a drop.
I feel like I'm recovering. I should go get another glass of eggnog.
I know. I'm starting to sober up. I'm going to go get some more eggnog too. Actually, I have to go over to the pasture and go pick up my baked goodies now. So it's going to be me and a couple of pumpkin pies and a pecan pie and a lot of eggnog and brandy.
Just bring the bottle with you and drink it on the way. Yeah.
I can do that. I absolutely could do that.
What are you talking about? It's eggnog. It's fine.
It's fine. It's eggnog. It's not really alcohol. All right. Corey Wallace says there's 1 thumb down.
No, I don't know who it is eating, but there is someone who thumbs down every single GameHound video. Like, they have a plugin and the GameHounds is on that plugin to thumbs down us. That means we're making it.
You know what? I applaud
You know what? I
that
got
dedication.
hot respect for that person. Seriously.
Yeah. That takes work to do it every episode.
That's devotion.
Yeah.
That's love. You know, that's love. It's a fine line between love and hate.
What you don't realize is the thumbs up and thumbs down are from the same person.
They just cancel each other out.
Thumbs up on YouTube, thumbs down on Facebook.
I gotta go pick up baked goods from a pastor. And no, that's not a euphemism. That's literal. I gotta get muffins from my pastor. So have a great night. Please, everyone, take care, and we will talk to you next week. One Christmas older. Good night, everyone. Yep. Happy holidays, whatever you are celebrating. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you're celebrating or not. See you next week. Take care. Bye, everyone. Smart ass.